Hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. If you do like the programming you see here and the musicians and artists I visit with, please be sure and hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Tony Poole and Iain Whitmore were members of the 1970s rock band Starry Eyed and Laughing. The band began in 1973 and would release 2 albums, 3 Peel sessions, and several singles before disbanding in 1976. There have been a few compilations released in recent years. Prior to Starry Eyed and Laughing, Tony was in the Chymes and Iain was in Patches with Leo Sayer. Post Starry Eyed and Laughing, Iain formed Kites, joined Mick Kaminski's Violinski, and released a solo album, Cries. Together, Iain and Tony recorded as the Falcons and released the album Fallen and as the Sun with the single Start the Countdown. More recently, Tony joined Robin Bennett and Danny George Wilson and Bennett Wilson Poole with a couple of albums released. Iain's latest solo album, Among the Living, came out in 2024. Tony's latest album, Faith in Us, came out in January of this year. And the latest from Starry Eyed and Laughing, Live 76, from one of the band's last live shows, is scheduled to be released later this month, followed by a brand new album this summer. Well, welcome, guys.
Hi, Greg.
Hi,
Good to
Greg.
see you. Thanks for this. Yeah,
Yeah.
and thanks for reminding us what we've done.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a reminder every now and then, right? Right.
Yeah.
Well, I have a few background questions I always ask. I don't know if you've watched any of the interviews. Who wants to go first?
Ian.
Okay.
Do
That was my ventriloquist act.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll
was
go
it?
first. Fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You'll get through me quicker because I have a
Okay.
terrible memory.
Okay. Well, get it out of the way, right?
Yeah.
Well, take us back to the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in a town called Romford, which is in East London. It's kind of outside the main area of London. It's inside. I don't know if you're familiar with the M25. It's a
A
big
little
road
bit.
that goes all the way around London, and it's within the M25, but it's not actually in City of London. It's on the
Oh,
outskirts.
okay. Do
Yeah.
you recall your early childhood growing up? Was there music in the household?
Um, n- n- yes, yes. My mum and dad used to have lots of singles. They had a phonogram, a big
Yes.
sort of box with a deck in the middle of it and speakers built into it. And I used to listen to things like one of my favorites was Ramblin' Rose by Nat King Cole.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Jezebel by Frankie Lane. And
Right.
I'd play those two songs pretty much, non-stop.
Really?
Drive my parents mad. And I
Right.
started I started singing when I was about 5, according to
Oh,
my parents. Yeah.
you were young. Did they ever have a dancette,
Uh,
or did you have one?
I had one later. It wasn't actually a dance set, but it was a similar kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Were either one of your parents musically inclined?
They could both sing.
Mhm.
Um, Apparently my grandmother on my mum's side was a very, very good singer, but I never really heard her sing.
Okay.
But yeah, my parents they didn't play instruments, but they could sing. They were good
Oh, okay.
singers. Yeah.
Speaking of instruments, what was the first you learned to play? What instrument?
Oh, bass. I
Oh, bass.
started on bass. Yeah.
Okay.
Tell
And
me
how?
why.
Well,
Tell me
if you
why.
if you don't count recorder at school, which was
Oh,
awful.
oh,
No,
that's come up before too, that they're forced to play recorder in school. Yes, yes.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. No, I started on bass because it was the time, it was around sort of the Beatles, the Beatles were happening, and a few of my friends said, let's form a band. Nobody could play, but they said, let's form a band. I want to be the guitarist. Oh, I'll be the lead singer. Yeah, I want to hit the drums. And they all look at me and go, you're the bass player. Oh, great, thanks. But actually, I'm really pleased because I love bass.
Oh,
I really
okay.
love it.
Can you remember one of the first singles or albums that you bought that you got yourself?
the very, very first album that I bought was the Monkees.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Is that right? Okay.
yeah. But it fairly quickly I realized that I was being frowned upon because everybody was starting to listen to the Animals and Manfred Mann, and then uh, and I kind of sort of moved it to the side and started buying those records.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I remember there was a second-hand shop,
Yeah.
like a charity shop, what they are now, I suppose, over the road from my school, and I saw, I think it was Fifth Dimension by the
Oh,
Birds
oh, okay.
in the window. I think it was. It was
Oh,
either that or Mr. Tambourine Man, but I can't remember what.
they're both black, aren't they?
Yeah,
Obviously.
they're
Yeah.
both-
Yes, they are.
Covers.
yeah, the
Yeah.
covers. What year would it have been?
Tambourine Man was 65, Fifth Dimension was 66.
Okay.
It must have been Tambourine Man. It
Oh,
must have been
okay.
Tambourine Man, and it was about 2 shillings and sixpence,
Oh, right.
which is like an eighth of a pound, wasn't
Yeah,
it, at the time?
30 cents or something.
30
Oh,
cents.
dirt
Yeah.
cheap. Yeah.
So I bought that, and as soon as I put it on the record deck, it changed my life completely. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Life
Yeah.
changer. And then one more question, then we'll
Yeah.
shoot it, go over to Tony. How
Yeah.
about the first live concert that you attended, that you, or one of the first?
One of the first, I think I lived in, my parents moved after a while, and the first band I saw, I think, was John Mayall's Blues Breakers
Oh, is that right?
at Malvern Winter Gardens.
Oh, yeah. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
Was,
I think that was it.
whoa.
Yeah.
Was that when Peter Green was with them, or not?
Uh, I think so.
Okay.
I saw Peter Green later
Lee
with
Whitman.
John Mayall as
Okay.
well
Oh,
at Brighton Dome, and he wasn't advertised. Mayall just brought him on after a few songs, and everybody
oh,
went crazy, you
oh,
know. But I think the first band I ever saw was John Mayall, and I think John McVie. No, it wasn't. It was a little guy called Steve Thompson was on bass. Steve Thompson, his
Don't
name
never
was.
heard of him.
No, he didn't. I'm not sure what happened to him. I think it was Ainsley Dunbar on drums, Steve Thompson, and I honestly do not remember who was on guitar. It might have been uh, the guy who joined the Stones, Mick
Oh,
Taylor.
Mick
oh,
Taylor.
Mick
Mick Taylor.
Taylor.
Good.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
might have been
Okay.
him. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right, Tony, your turn. All right.
Right,
All
I've
right.
been preempted, but I was born in, my father was in the Foreign Office, but and my two siblings were born abroad, but I was born in Northampton, England. But I spent a lot of time in my childhood at a boarding school because they were traveling around the world, which wasn't great. I kind of tried to escape many times from that, really.
Did you?
And just I know you've asked Ian the same thing. Neither of my parents were particularly musical, and my dad did. Um, he always played the piano when we visited his mother, my grandmother, because she had a piano in the drawing room, as they called it in those days.
Yeah.
And so he would always sort of do it. And that's the first time I remember doing anything was because I remember hearing Hang Down Your Head Tom Dooley on the radio,
Yeah.
and I could pick out the notes on the piano. So that's my first memory of
Right.
playing, really.
Right.
Um,
My
but yeah,
parents
neither
used
of
my
them were
parents used to like
musical.
that song. Yeah.
So,
My
yeah,
parents said my parents used to like that song.
really, yeah, it
Yeah.
was amazing.
I did too. I did.
Yeah.
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 Kingston Trio.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, that was
Yes.
the one. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's an easy tune to pick out, if you avoided the black notes sort of thing. So,
Because they're too loud.
yeah, too loud. Yeah. So, but my dad loved Glenn Miller, and
Yeah.
and he used to like sort of show music, like South Pacific. So those are the records they had. And just to come to fast to my thing. Um, I I think the first record obviously I think I was out of the country when the Beatles hit. I think my parents were in the Far East in Singapore, or it may have been Thailand actually. So I was there, But I was aware of the Beatles when I came back, but I missed all of the real mania. I remember at my school, the other guys had that little Beatle monthly book. I don't know if you got it in the States, but it was like a thing that came out every month with quips of theirs and stuff. So I missed that particularly. But I was back in England mostly in 1965, and like Ian, Mr. Tambourine Man was the first album I bought actually. I think I bought the single first, and then that was life changing as well, And I'm not name dropping here, but I've spoken to many people who play Rickenbacker 12 strings that say the same thing, really.
Mm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely the first thing. And then we had a band at school called the Chymes, this was at the school thing,
Yeah.
and kind of my buddy there, who was actually I'd known since 6 years old, Ross McGeaney. um, he played the guitar quite well. He actually taught me my first D chord on the guitar. But because he played the guitar and I wasn't that good, I was assigned the bass. So
Oh, okay.
so I played the bass for those, and we
Yeah.
called ourselves the Chimes for the obvious reason, with a Y.
Mm.
Yes.
And
Yes.
uh, and the first song we ever played was Mr. Tambourine Man. In fact, the first set we played was Mr. Tambourine Man, followed by Lay Down Your Weary Tune, because I think it might have been after the Turn, Turn, Turn came out at the end of 65. And then we finished off with Wild Thing by the Trogs.
By the drugs. Okay.
So yeah, so that was kind of our the first time, but it was only a school band, so
Oh,
it doesn't signify anything. And I think a school friend I'm still in touch with sent me a clipping from the local newspaper that mentions it. So it proves I didn't dream it all. It
Mm.
was actually
it it actually
online
happened.
on the in the newspaper. Yeah, really. Um,
What about the first concert you attended?
well, this is interesting because I didn't know about Ian.
Yeah.
I used to skip off because my school was in Bedford, a place called Bedford. But I used to skip off and go down to London, and I used to go to a place several times called the Middle Earth.
Mm.
It was a club
Yes.
in
Yes.
Covent Garden. People have probably talked about it.
Yes.
And the first one I went to, the main band was Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac.
No, really?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Right.
incredibly. And I remember I can still see them. But the support act was a band called Dan Talien's Chariot.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm
And that
familiar with
was
them.
Suit Money,
Y-
and the
y-
guitarist was Andy Summers.
That's
They
right.
made an album,
Y-
didn't they?
Yeah, they do. Well, I think it was at the time when everybody was going a bit psychedelic, and Zoot Money's big roll band
Yes.
went out of fashion. So he created amazing name, Dan Talien's Chariot, and I don't remember the music or anything. In fact, I don't remember much about. I do remember seeing Peter Green on the stage,
Mm.
because the stage you could walk around the side of it. It wasn't like an auditorium, the Middle Earth Club, but it was amazing. And the other memory I've got, so that was the first band I saw live, or band that's famous. And there was another band I saw at the Marquee called Green Ginger, and they're a three-piece like in the Cream way, and they were great, but I've never seen any record of them anywhere. It's like,
Right. Right.
you know,
I've never heard of
no,
them.
it's
Me
weird.
neither.
I
No.
think sometimes when you're on YouTube and you look at some band that you knew, like something like the Eyes, who I
Yeah.
bought a record of called The
Yes.
Immediate Pleasure.
Yes.
Um, and then down the side of YouTube, there's all these other names of people you never heard of who made a single or
Yeah.
sometimes a couple,
Mm.
Right.
but obviously never. So you've got a lot of people left to interview, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was
Yeah,
the first
Fleetwood
band I
Mac. I mean,
saw.
the early Fleetwood Mac. I love that material. And
Oh,
unfortunately, a lot of the younger people today, they only know the ones with Lindsay and Stevie. That
Mm.
era.
yeah,
They don't know
yeah,
the early material.
yeah. It's a different band, really,
Yeah.
isn't
Oh,
it?
totally, totally
Completely
different.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was amazing. We were talking the other day, sorry if I hijack, but about the
No.
songs from the 60s, something like the Green Manalishi, with the two
Oh,
piano.
one of my
Wow.
favorites.
But
Yes.
but they were so varied, there was
Mm.
like everybody was just trying what they wanted, and because the audience was just coming out of the Second World War, baby boom, we were all open to it in some way, and that's vanished in a way now. It's all very corporate again.
Yes. Yes. It is. It is. And then Judas Priest did a cover of it a
Did
few years
they?
ago. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
right. Yeah,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
it was amazing. Did I
Oh,
leave out any of the questions? I can't
no,
remember.
no,
Yeah,
I think you were spot on. Yeah, with
cool.
those. Well, Tony, you and Ross McGeaney knew each other from what, age 6 or so? You were really young.
Yes, both our fathers did the same job in well, they call it the diplomatic wireless service. They weren't diplomats. They used to do the signaling, kind of thing. So first knew Ross when I was about 6 years old in Singapore in the 50s.
Yeah,
And then by chance, what they did was, because these employees were always traveling around the world, they put their kids in these boarding schools, aka prisons,
yeah.
and I went to this one because it was recommended, and it was like they thought it was the right thing to do, so I don't blame them. And then by chance, Ross, who's a tiny bit younger than me, a year later joined the same school, so we were in the same sort of situation
Mm.
basically. And that's, I say, that was when we were about 9. So, but I'd known him as a kid, as a 6-year-old, both with our little tricycles kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. What
And
what if somebody back when you were 6 had told you that you'd be playing together in a band, in the future? Would you have believed it?
I would have had no concept of it because at 6, I don't think I was. The only thing I really was aware of was the kind of the music that was playing on the radios in Singapore, and it was kind of Eastern music sometimes, really. Later on, my parents were there again in the 60s, and at that time, all you heard on the radios, coming out of the shanties and stuff, was Shadows music. It was amazing,
Mm.
Yeah,
hearing Apache and FBI sort of
yeah.
coming through the Singapore heat haze.
Right, right, right.
But no, at 6 years old, I had no, you
Yeah.
know, um, no knowledge, no thought about it really. But at 9, I think you sort of suddenly became. I do remember hearing things like Elvis Presley's "Are You Lonesome Tonight," and things like that, and Wooden Heart, those kinds of things. But I wasn't I liked them, because they hit something, but it didn't hit me like the Beatles and the Byrds, and particularly the West Coast music. That was kind of the thing, really. Yeah.
All right.
Mm.
Well, how was it busking in the underground tunnels?
Oh, you got that info. Wow. Well, yeah. When I came back from Singapore, I don't think I even tried to get any jobs for a while because I didn't have to. And I used to go down to London with my guitar, and I had some friends that I'd made in Singapore that I used to stay with, which feels really using now. And so I'd just go down the tunnels. The best one was Green Park Underground.
Hmm.
And the thing then was you didn't have to have a license. There was a sort of unwritten thing where if there was nobody there, you could start playing, but somebody would come along and book the next slot like an hour later. And you'd put out your guitar case and I'd sing Mr. Tambourine Man, Beatles song. I remember doing Things We Said Today. And the tunnel, all of them actually, but Green Park particularly has a great echo,
Mm.
so it was like you felt pretty good,
Yeah.
Exactly. The acoustics in the tunnels are really, really
Yeah,
nice
yeah,
for
it's
that. Yeah.
absolutely great. I did that, but one time just before Christmas when I was really broke, I went up to another place in somewhere called Finsbury Park. And it's the first time I encountered a sort of negative thing. I set up and I'd made a few bob, and then this railway policeman came along and said, I remember the words he said, "If you don't pack up now, you'll be inside so fast your feet won't touch the ground." So it was
Okay.
like, you're head for jail, mate. So that was the end of. I'm not sure I ever did it after that, actually, bizarrely,
Yeah.
because I thought, well, not
Well,
that keen on going to jail.
right. That would have got my attention. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That
Hearing
was
that.
great. The best times I had actually, there was occasionally a girlfriend would accompany me, and then she would hold a hat, and we always made a lot more money that way. So it
Yeah.
taught me a lot about
Right,
showbiz.
right, exactly. If you have a female there,
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a draw in
Yeah.
itself.
True.
Well,
Uh,
Ian,
Yeah.
you were in the band Patches with Leo Sayer. Wow, how did that all start?
Well, funny enough, I was talking to this about this with Tony the other night, and I mean, I was in a the earliest, I think, really the earliest band after the school band, which didn't really do anything. The earliest band I was in was with Roger Kelly, who later joined Starry Eyed and at the end. He's a fantastic guitarist.
Amazing. Yeah.
And even in those days when we were 16, 17, he was just extraordinary. Um, and we had a trio with a drummer whose name I won't mention, but the band was his idea. Okay, he
Okay.
wanted to play drums, and he had a PA. So we thought,
Oh,
okay,
you're
yeah,
in the band. You're in
okay,
the
we'll
band.
we'll we'll,
Right.
we'll do it with him. But and so I it it was a good band for me in the sense that my timing got a lot better because it had to.
Yes,
Um,
yes. You
and
you honed you
so
honed your
there was
shot.
that, and
Yeah.
then we got uh, Roger said, "Oh, I know a really good drummer," and that's where Mick Wackford came into my life, who
Oh,
later joined Starry Eyed and Laughing.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Became our drummer. Yeah.
became our drummer.
Mm.
So he and Roger and I did a few gigs under the name August. We called ourselves August, which was my idea, is named after the Arthur Lee song, on
Right, right.
Love for
Yes,
Sale. Yeah.
yes,
So we were
right.
named we named ourselves after that song,
Mhm.
and then I just started to get to know people um, around the area, Shoreham, Lancing, and I think I got an invite from somebody saying we're putting this band together. Why don't you come and join us? And it was Leo Say, or Jerry as he was then,
Okay,
Max Chetwynd, who played on one song on Leo's first album, I think he's the guitarist, a drummer called Mick Morris, and me. And that was great. I think that was at that point I thought, oh, now I'm starting to become a serious musician because these are good guys, good
yeah.
singers, good players. And
Mm.
we entered a talent contest in Brighton,
Okay.
hosted by Adam Faith
Ah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and Dave Courtney. Okay.
Oh, okay, okay.
So that was that was my first step into what I thought would be the big time, because they wanted to they wanted to take us on, but really all they wanted was Jerry Leo.
Oh, okay.
And the story, their story, of course, is that Leo started writing songs with Dave Courtney, and Adam Faith became Leo's manager, and he just went on from there. And then I started to, I don't know, what was the question in the first?
No, how you guys started Patches, but there was a single Living in
Yeah,
America, 72.
Oh yeah.
yeah, living in America, yeah. Yes, I did play on that.
Yeah.
Did you
Um,
gig? Did you do lots of gigs?
Yeah.
I think I told you we did that. We did one gig at the Angel Islington to an
Mm.
audience of about six people.
Is that
Yeah, and that was a life lesson for me as well. Traveling up to London
Yeah.
to enter the big time,
I
and
don't know
then
who I don't remember who it was I talked to, but they play some of the dinner clubs, and they said people were like telling the band to keep it quiet.
yeah, yeah,
I'm trying to eat here.
yeah. I know.
the important thing?
Yeah, I know.
Right.
But it didn't. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. I think Adam Faith very quickly realised that managing a solo artist is a lot less expensive and more lucrative than managing a band.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
one by one, he kind of
Got rid
said,
of you.
"Do you fancy a drink?"
Oh,
And he'd take us to the pub and give us a chat, and we'd be on our way.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so so that's
Yeah.
that's why Max ended up being the only one who actually played on the
Oh,
first album on one track.
on one track.
So by the
Yeah.
time he started recording, the band was gone really.
Oh,
just
okay.
reminded me. Do you know that film That'll Be the
Mm.
Day with
Yes. Yes.
David
Yeah.
Essex? Is
Yeah.
Adam Faith his first manager in
Mm.
there? And that's
Yeah.
when he's firing the band, he goes,
Yeah, I
"That's the
think so.
trick."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's the
Well,
quote, so.
I have to say, Leo Sayer, I like his early material, before he sold out with You Make Me Feel Like Dancing and what was the other song? I forget, but
Something about thunder. Was there something about
yeah,
thunder? I know somebody did a remix recently, which
Yeah.
was a dance hit,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
like his earlier material. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Well,
clever.
in Patches, we wrote our own songs, but we almost exclusively otherwise played blues.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and Jerry was an amazing blues singer. I mean, you don't really hear it. You just hear all the singles and stuff now. But
Is that right?
yeah, oh God. And he played harmonica as well. It was a
Right.
real proper blues band. It was really good.
So he became a pop star instead,
Yeah,
which is
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
better for
yes,
him, I suppose.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's what happens. Well, how did you recruit Steve and Nick
Oh,
for
for me, yeah,
Starry Eyed and
yeah,
Sorry, yeah,
Laughing?
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, well, Ross and I, when we were, it was Ross's flat apartment, I guess, in London, and I used to go down there. And then I think I ended up sort of being part of the furniture, but I used to drag him out to folk clubs to do floor spots, as they call them. You probably, where there's somebody there that wasn't big, and then you'd get like two songs or something. So we went around doing that for quite a while, doing our things, sometimes a bit too ambitiously. And then I think I was probably the most motivating, so I would look in the Melody Maker, which was the main music paper. In the back, there'd be adverts for, bass players, and sometimes there'd be an ad for somebody looking for a band. There's this company called Panda, and I answered the ad, and I think I sent them a sort of no, it wasn't cassette, it was a little reel recording or something to a chap called David Griffiths, and he brought us up to their office because they had an office right in the middle of London at Marble Arch. And the story behind Panda was the main business guy, a lovely chap. He'd made a bit of extra money doing those. Now that's what I call music type albums, where they got other
Yes.
people to cover the hits of the day, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that label was called Pan Pacific. So Panda was a little offshoot. So then David was so keen and very enthusiastic and fantastic energy. He put us in a studio run by this guy called Steve Hall up in Hampstead. I always remember because it was at his there was a big house he shared with his brother, and at the top of it you could look down, and sometimes we saw Kenny Jones from the Small Faces in his place
Oh,
down in the
down
garden
there.
below. But his studio was in the basement, so we recorded some songs with him. And Steve he played bass, but he also played drums, so he did the drums on it. And then David took those recordings around record labels and agencies, and it seems very fortuitous, but one of the agents he went was called Bell Time. There's a guy called Murray Brown, liked it, but he suggested his son Nick could be our drummer.
Oh, is that how
So
that
we got a
happened?
drummer. Maybe it was a thing like we'll book your gigs, but you got to have our son, playing drums. But he was good. He was a good drummer.
Uh,
Probably the thing about musicians, sometimes a really good musician could just be not quite on the same heartbeat as you. And I think that maybe happened with Nick and Ian. I don't know really, but
Hmm.
we did a good 6 or 8 months worth of gigs with Nick and less with Steve actually. And Steve decided to join us. He'd originally been in a duo called Richmond, who made a record,
Hmm.
and it's really good. And he's a fantastic musician and also a recording engineer. He had a Brennell 8-track recorder, which is kind of more than the Beatles had.
yeah, yes.
Um,
That
so,
was
but
yeah, that was quite the technology back then.
yes, absolutely. And he knew all about reverb and echo and all that kind of stuff. And but he came out, but I think he didn't really like being out on the road with us particularly, and also, I think he was making a bit of money sort of hiring out his studio. So being on the road, it's a bit like the Hal Blaine story where he would never go on the road
Yeah.
because he was making too much money in the studios,
Yeah,
Hmm.
right.
Good old
Well,
Hal Blaine. So in the end, I mean, I don't know if I can get to this point, but We were at the Panda had another band called Eclection. It was Doris Henderson's
Doris Henderson,
Eclection.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I'm familiar with them. Is it
Yeah.
Well,
EK,
they
right?
made
EK spelled EK? Isn't it spelled EK?
Uh,
no EC.
no, it's the
Oh,
normal spelling of
EC.
Eclection.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They
There's a
were
there was
English. They
another
were an
band with EK. Okay.
they English folk rock band,
Okay.
really. They
Okay.
started off as,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
made one album in their original lineup, which included Trevor Lucas from
Fairport.
Fairport Convention.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And the main songwriter was a guy called George Hultgreen, who
Really?
later became George Kajanis from
Sailor.
Sailor.
Sailor, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Girls,
Right.
So
girls, girls.
yeah, I've got that Eclection album. It's one.
Really?
Yeah, I really like it. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
So I
Well,
can, yeah.
yeah,
Go
but
to-
I think
go ahead.
later, well, maybe it was afterwards, this folk singer called Doris Henderson. She was
Yeah.
American, black
Yes.
girl,
Yes.
joined them, and she's brilliant. And so they were signed to this Panda sort of management company thing. And I think Ian answered an advert.
I did answer the advert for the band, and I went up and kind of auditioned as a bass player. And I didn't get the bass playing job. I think it was Mick Diath
That
who
oh
got
yeah, yes, yes,
Mick Diath who got
yeah,
it in
death.
yeah, Death. It's spelt Death, but it's not. All right, Mick Death. Okay.
Make death. It just wasn't good. Make
But
death.
I said to Doris, I've got some songs that I've been writing. Would you be interested in hearing them? And she said, sure, bring them to the management offices, which was Panda.
Oh, I see. I didn't know
So,
that.
so I turned up at Panda, and I suppose I discovered that you were looking for a bass player.
I think you always told me it might have just been deflated. You said you heard some of our music on the on the deck on the cassette deck or something,
Yeah, that's right.
and then you yeah, and we were looking for a bass player
Right.
anyway. So
Yep.
I guess that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So
You
fortuitous.
you replaced the departing Steve Hall on bass.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
In
Right.
fact, for the first few gigs before you joined, Ian would come along as a roadie,
yeah,
and we'd practice the harmonies in the van.
yeah.
I remember that. And Steve was cool with it, really.
Okay.
I don't think I only got one death threat, I think, but yeah, but it was yeah. So then Ian joined, and that was kind of like just perfect, really.
Right. Right.
And like I say,
Sorry, Steve really wasn't a bass player in his soul, was he?
no,
He
no,
was
he was
more,
more of a singer-songwriter.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the early gigs, in fact, strangely enough, in the early gigs, we used to do, not strangely, it's his songs, but we got noticed by the Melody Maker at a gig. It was our eighth gig and had a great review. And that's with Steve Hall and me and Ross and Nick Brown. So that sort of, once you get a bit of a very small world, but publicity, it sort of
Yes.
makes it easier to the record companies to go, oh, I've seen that name in the thing, and John Peel can get involved and stuff.
You start building some momentum there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was Steve that was playing the bass there, but his songs were interesting, but from a different sort of track, really. I can't think what they were like, really, but whereas Ian's, with his Moby Grape and Birds thing, it was like
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
exactly that,
We forgot Moby Grape.
who
Yeah.
could
You didn't
forget
mention
Who
Moby
him.
could forget?
Grape?
Oh God, probably the second most influential album on my life.
Oh,
The
all
first
right.
Moby
All right.
Grape album.
All
Wow.
right, all right, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to mention for those that are not aware, the name Starry Eyed and Laughing comes from the line in the Bob Dylan song "Chimes of
Yes.
Freedom." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, that's right. I think Ross and I had a duo residency in London for about the first, I think it's from May 73 till towards the end of 73. It was just the two of us. And it was, I suppose, the beginning of pub rock happening, but we were just a duo. But eventually, because we used to do Fire and Rain, High, High, High by Paul McCartney. I remember it's very varied. So we used to pack the place out, and we didn't have a name then. But at one point, I think we went through some things, but at one point I flashed on the name Starry Eyed and Laughing, which now I'm sometimes a little embarrassed to explain it to younger people, but I say there were other bands around at the time, that had that kind of name, and also it kind of connected you to Bob Dylan, really. So,
Mm.
so that was it. It's interesting
Exactly.
though that you took your name August from a song by Arthur Lee,
Mm.
and when Starry Eyed and Laughing came from a song by Bob Dylan.
Mm.
So, it's kind of strange synchronicity there, I guess.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
true. Very true. Very true.
yeah.
Well, do you remember recall the recording sessions for the first album, the self-titled album?
Yes. Were you, in fact,
I remember how nervous I was.
well, the one thing I do remember is it was, fortunately or unfortunately for Nick, we got noticed by this chap called Dan Loggins, who was the younger brother of Kenny Loggins, and he was the A&R. He was from LA, but he was the A&R man at CBS Records, which was the English subsidiary of Columbia. And I think he still had some West Coast in his soul, because before us he'd signed a band called Home, which was very much
Oh, I'm familiar with Home. Yes.
yeah, there you
Mm.
go.
Mm.
So then he got us because he liked our kind of music, I think. So he booked us for a trial session at the studios, but it was around the time when Nick was leaving the band and Mike was coming in, I think. I don't know quite, I can't remember how, but
Didn't Dan say that he wasn't sure about Nick?
no, you're thinking about George Martin
Okay.
and Ringo and Pete Best.
No, no.
I saw you both go, what? When did we get signed by George
Yeah.
Martin? No, no, that's the story about Pete Best, isn't it? No,
Okay.
I don't think it may be true, but I don't remember that.
Mm.
But anyway, the point of the story is that I think 3 days before we were doing that session, Michael Wackford came up and we sat in a little room in the front of the house rehearsing with him for the first time.
Mm.
And then went into the studio. So,
Yeah.
hats off to Michael and you as well if you were that nervous, I guess.
Yeah, I was. It was
Yeah.
the
But
first time I've been in a recording studio.
oh
Oh
really?
yeah. I was gonna ask you, was it a little bit intimidating? Recording?
Uh
Well, it was for me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I
Yeah.
don't think it was. I mean, the studio is great. It was CBS Studios in Soho, and it was a big studio. It was a big room and everything. But I really enjoyed it actually. The only
Mm.
thing I didn't enjoy was the fact that when you sang, in a separate place to where everybody was sitting behind glass.
Oh,
Mm.
So, and that used to make me nervous. Nowadays you can sing in the same room you're recording,
Yeah.
whatever. But apart from that, I think I really enjoyed it. And so we did, I think we recorded 3 songs pretty much live, and then overdubbed some double tracking, I think.
Mm.
And then that became our first demos. And then I think from those, Dan chose the single and then also, gave us the album deal as well,
Yeah.
so and
yeah.
then when we went in the studio, we went in with this brilliant engineer called Mike Ross Trevor. I guess that might have been in August or something. Um, and one of the best memories I've got is that because he saw I played a 12 string, the year before he'd recorded the Byrds record Farther Along at that studio in London. And
Okay.
at the time, it didn't turn out that way, but they brought over or had over the original 2-track master of Mr. Tambourine Man in the basement of the studio. And while we were there, he brought it up and put it on there so he could match the sound. You know,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
you probably don't remember that, but it was,
No.
and it was
Well,
just like
vaguely. Yeah.
how thoughtful it was for him to do
Yeah.
that. As it turns out, I don't think there's much of that, you know, birdsy sound on Farther Along, is there really? But
No, 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 there's
yeah, but he did really a great job, as well.
Yeah.
I only learned a few weeks ago that actually he died at the beginning of last year, which is,
oh,
very sad, really. And obviously, we just had that one recording session thing with him, and that was it, really. And I guess, you ships in the night, as it were,
that,
really.
that's true. Well, I
You
wanted
know,
to.
I was
Oh,
just
go ahead. Go ahead. No,
sorry,
go
I was
ahead.
just thinking, I was just reflecting on why I was nervous. And I think, I mean, apart from the fact that it was a completely new environment for me, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I just stood there and played. But I think I was aware for probably the earliest occasion that I remember being aware of how good the quality of the songwriting was from Tony and Ross. And I thought, I don't want to screw this up. I really don't want to
That's
screw this up.
nice.
Oh,
And I
Nice.
because this band, I feel home. I feel at home here,
oh.
and I really didn't want to screw it up, and I think that's why I was nervous.
Okay, oh, that's lovely.
Oh, oh, is that the first time you're hearing this, Tony? Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
absolutely is.
Well, it's the first time I've really thought about it,
Oh, okay.
He
Okay.
doesn't think a lot.
which is
Well,
your fault. You
it's
brought it
my
up.
fault.
No,
I'll take the blame.
thanks.
I'll take the blame. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well,
By the
that's
way,
one of the
just
things that I like about these interviews is it kind of brings out some of the
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm
things.
really
Yeah.
touched at that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I remember once somebody, another musician who I won't name, was asked about us, sort of slightly, maybe a bit later during the punky period. He wasn't punk, and he said, "Oh, they were a good band, but I never rated their songs." And that kind of comment sort of sticks with you,
Mm,
really. So,
sure.
I mean, he's a terrible songwriter, but I'm joking.
Get, get it,
But
get it
yeah,
in the
so
chat. Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
touching. I think you at one point you're just trying to do what you're hero worshipped, aren't you? Really, that's kind of
Mm.
Yes,
the
yes,
way
you
it
did. Yeah.
goes with those
Well,
things.
I wanted to mention tracks that I like. It's some of my picks, and get your feedback, stories around the songs, or recollections, memories. Of
Mm,
course, it had the singles "Money Is No Friend of Mine" and "Nobody Home," you know,
Mm.
which I like both of those. I
mm.
also like "Closer to You Now."
Mhm.
So, do you want me to tell
That's
you?
Ross's best
Yeah.
song.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
in fact, yes, it's one of my. It's almost the definitive Starry Eyed song, "Closer to You Now," actually, and it was all Ross McGuiney actually. It's got different bits. He was mostly a Stephen Stills kind of fan,
Oh, right.
so
Right.
he kind of, and he was a great. He could play like Stephen Stills as well, before even before he sort of got the string bender. But yeah, that's his song really, and then I suppose he was always very much harmony guy, really.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is when we always sang harmony as a duo, but when Ian joined, it took on a whole new level, because the combination of the vibrations of the three voices, I won't say it's the same as, but it was like when Crosby, Stills and Nash sing together.
Yeah.
Even though some of them are slightly out of tune, it just has some magic about it,
Mm.
It works together though. Yeah.
yeah,
It does.
exactly.
It
Yeah,
does.
and I guarantee you, when we sang, I was probably mostly out of tune, but without that, it wouldn't have been as good. Yeah, so I really like that. Money is no friend of mine. I remember I had a sort of what I call a coolie job, driving a van delivering bread.
Okay.
And I remember being in the van, and I wrote that song in about 15 minutes. This is about 6 months before the band started, and it's not. I remember when we were in the studio, we had a guy visiting, like a friend, American friend, and he said, "But you've just copied 'Wasn't Born to Follow.'" It was kind of same
Okay.
chords, really.
Okay. Okay.
But Dan liked it, and it was a single, and John Peel played it,
Mm.
so it was kind of it, yeah.
That's always good to have John Peel, in your court too.
Mm.
So
Absolutely,
yeah, yeah.
yes, yeah,
Doesn't
yeah.
hurt. Didn't hurt. Yeah.
Never hurts at all. Well, I mean, we got those shows originally because he had a producer called John Walters, and he came to see us at a gig in South London, and then booked us for the show. So and that was just brilliant. Also, the experience in the BBC recording studio is very interesting because you just get 3 hours to do three songs.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you feel like John Lennon, Paul McCartney. It's like, oh, we got to get this right. And actually, some of those recordings were so good, they kind of almost matched the record in a
The
way.
actual recordings. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
From the record.
yeah.
Well, another track from that first album, "Lady Came from the South." I
Mm.
really enjoy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's it's interesting that actually, I don't know where it came from. I know
Mm.
somebody said to me, "Oh, there's Roger McGuinn had a song called "The Lady" on his second album, I think." But I don't know. I had an Australian girlfriend at the time, and I used to say it was about her, but she didn't believe me, and she's probably right. It's like one of those things you say. And yeah, I guess I don't know how it goes. The nice thing I think, possibly about that song, is it sort of goes through some different musical things. It's not all just G, C, D.
That's one of my favorites.
It's yeah, it goes through like a
Mm.
different key change kind of thing. It's
Mm.
minor to major and stuff, really. And at the time, I just got my when we recorded it, I think I just got what they call a phase shifter, which was the sound which makes the guitar go whoosh kind of thing, you know. We were talking about this the other day. The first time we heard phasing was on
Mm.
the Small Faces record. Do you remember?
Itchy Park.
Do you know that
Yes,
song?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There's a drum fill in there which just does,
Right.
you know, and it's
Yeah,
got yeah, the phase
it
shifting
does.
sound.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I remember, you know, I had the solo worked out and I played it with the phase shifter, which
Mm.
that was just my memory of it, you know. But it's
When
interesting
I
because to me it seems like such a slight song, really, but sometimes the slighter ones that you haven't put so much into
yeah,
can have a more universal kind of appeal, really, you know.
Mm.
right. You know,
Uh, and
when I saw the song, the name "Lady Came from the South," I thought of Tim Harden's "Lady Came from Baltimore."
Mm.
Oh, yes, that's right. I don't think, do you know, even though I was aware of Harden, I don't think, sorry, Tim Harden,
Tim Harding. Yeah.
Tim Hardy. I don't think I knew that song, actually. I don't think I was aware of any of the songs that had lady in them. Can I
Okay.
think of, no, I don't, but I obviously knew, you know, his most famous
She's a
ones.
lady. Is that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, is that John Sebastian?
John Sebastian.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I didn't know. I think at the time also, all the hippies in America used to say, you know, David Crosby, she's my lady. It
Mm.
became you know, she wasn't my girlfriend, she was my
Mm.
lady kind of thing.
yes. Yes. Right. Right.
Element.
And this was one of my favorites. "See Your Face." Yeah, this is one of my.
Oh, that's
Really?
interesting.
Oh,
This
okay.
is Greg. Wow, because again, that actually started off as a Ross McGuiney song, but he hadn't finished it. And then I helped him with some of the verses, and then Ian wrote the bridge.
I wrote, the middle of the
Yeah, so
bridge.
that was
Yeah.
the first one where with the three of
All
us
three of us. Yeah.
wrote it, you know, together. And
Yeah.
it was sort of it was a B-side, you know, and I think I know we had this press officer called John Tobler, and he was never very complimentary about it. I don't know what, you know, people have personal taste, but that's a clever song as well. It's got some
Yeah.
key
Yes.
change
Mm.
stuff in it. Yeah.
I like the changes in it. Yes, I
Oh,
like it.
thank you. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing to
Mm.
think that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Dan Loggins produced the record, but he was not. He played the harmonica, but he wasn't sort of like Kenny, you know, in a way. So, but he had a good instinct. But his main thing for our first album and a second was he'd bring in people to play on the tracks. And on that particular song, it was a bit incongruous. I think he brought in somebody called Roy Carr, who was a journalist, quite well known, lovely bloke as well. But he also played bongos. So bizarrely, that track has bongos on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Not just Bongo Star, you know, it was
But
just
I think it works though. I think it
yeah,
works.
exactly. It
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
adds to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, on the other songs, I mean, the ones you've mentioned, Money Is No Friend of Mine, it was came out after soon after um, Rod Stewart had a big hit with Maggie May. And the end of Maggie May, there was a guy called Ray Jackson from Lindisfarne played a mandolin
Oh,
Mm.
I
on
love the
it.
mandolin. I love
Yeah.
that instrument.
So Dan got in Ray Jackson to do a mandolin part on Money Is No Friend of Mine. I realize now he just played the same part he played on Maggie May.
But I don't think too many people have noticed that though. I mean,
No. But it was great. You know,
yeah.
another track, he had Russ Ballard come in and
Yeah.
play
Russ
with us.
Ballard.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you see my interview with
Frank Ricotti.
Frank
Yeah.
Ricotti played on the second
The
album.
second album.
But
Okay.
on Lady Came from the South, it wasn't kind of necessary, but he brought in a guy to arrange some background harmonies called Tony Rivers, you might have heard of
Oh,
from
yes.
He
Yes,
just died a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
didn't he?
he
But
did.
he sort of gave us the background vocals before the bridge, I think, on
Mm.
Lady Came from the South. But we could have worked it out ourselves, but it was kind of nice. It was lovely to be in the studio with
Tony Rivers
Right.
and the Castaways.
and Harmony Grass.
Harmony Grass. That's
Yeah,
right.
Harmony Grad, yes, another
yeah.
band. Right, right.
Mm.
Yeah, I talked to Russ. That was one I was really surprised. Russ Ballard, but Ballard.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
that
wow.
he was up for very nice, down to earth kind of guy. Yeah,
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 I can tell you the story about him.
yeah.
He came into the studio to play a kind of rock and roll piano on this track, Oh What, which is kind of a bit more pub rocky kind of R&B. But he came in with a leather jacket and sunglasses, and he just listened to the song once, and he went in the studio, thumped away at the piano once,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah,
perfect. It was just
yeah,
like, what? And then left.
yeah, yeah.
But when we isolated the track afterwards, it was full of wrong notes and kind of,
Oh, was
but
it?
it didn't matter because it
Yeah.
just fit the track
Right,
perfectly.
it did. It did. It did. I call him the UK version of Roy Orbison. With the dark sunglasses.
Yeah,
He
Yeah.
always
yeah,
wears he always wears the dark sunglasses.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. No, he was great. We supported Argent. I think that was his band, wasn't it? Uh,
Yes.
Yeah,
Probably a couple of times because we
yeah.
used to do all of those college kind of gigs, and so I remember
Yeah.
one time we supported his band.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
this? Hold Your Head Up. Was that
Hold
this?
Oh
your
yeah.
head
Oh
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
talked. I
Anyway.
talked. I talked to Bob Henrit too, who was in Argent.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they all still okay, the zombies? Are they all kind of
Yeah. Oh, and Chris White from the
wow.
that was one of mine that I was like, he'll never want to do this, but he was he
Right.
was he was open to it. Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
used to love. I still love the zombies. I still love.
Me too.
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, strangely enough, there used to be a shop in London. It's Denmark Street. It was our version. We used to call it Tin Pan Alley,
Yeah.
but there's a shop called Rod Argent's. He had a keyboard shop there, So, but I never saw him in there. I used to go in there all the time, but I never saw him
Mm.
really.
Yeah.
There was a chap called Paul Atkinson. I think he was in the Zombies.
Yes, he was the bass player.
Yeah, and he became an A&R man at CBS when we were there. He was a lovely guy.
Right.
Died very young, didn't he? I
Yes, he
think.
did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. Wow. Well, one last track from the first album I want to mention.
Mm.
Never Say Too Late.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
that
Ta-da!
that one reminds me of the Flying Burrito Brothers.
Well, there you go.
That'll do me. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
all we always had that. Obviously, I think the Gilded Palace of Sin was really,
yeah.
just everything
Yeah.
really.
Wow.
Right,
So that
right.
kind of did
Yeah.
it, and we were definitely country-ish as well. We liked that kind of sound. And then Ian had this perfect song, and
Mm.
then and Ross liked that kind of style. He had a Telecaster, so it was kind of the right guitar for
Mm.
country type
Mm.
music,
Mm.
really. It's quite weird. Yeah, no, it
Mm.
was it was great. It was all your song, wasn't it? And then
Yeah.
we just sort of did it. I think even the instrumental bit where it changes was yours. Yeah, but yeah, no, it was definitely in that thing. Interestingly enough, I was just reminded the other day when we went. I hope I'm not preempting any further questions, but when we went to
No, no, no.
America, we played the bottom line supporting Flo and Eddie. And
Oh,
one time, the later version of the Burritos, were in the audience with Eddie Tickner, their manager.
okay.
And because Flo and Eddie had been asking, guests to come on stage, somehow or other, it must have been arranged beforehand. I said, "Oh, the Burritos are in the audience. Will they come and play with us?" And it was Gene Parsons, Chris Etheridge, Gib Gilbo, and Joel Scott
John Scott
Hill,
Hill. Yeah.
and they came and did a song with us.
Mm.
They
So that
did.
was kind of cool.
They played
And
with you. Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
yeah,
6 days on the road it was. We played.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, is that right? Is that right? Wow,
yeah.
those are some nice memories there
That
too.
was great. And actually, a fan last year sent me some photos of the gig. So because I'd been telling the story, but sometimes people don't believe that kind of stuff,
Mm.
but the evidence is there,
Mm.
It's there. We've got photos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, moving on to the sophomore album, Thought Talk,
Mm,
that released the following year. Of course, it
Mm.
had the single "Good Love." I think that's one of the band's best songs right there.
really?
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Again, that's well, we credited all of us with it because I think it was my riff
Yeah.
and my title, and then Ian wrote the words for it. Um, and probably a bit of the tune as well.
Hmm.
But we made that was the first song where we just said everybody should have a credit on it because we basically worked that out during
Rehearsal period, wasn't it?
yeah, well no, it was before gigs. I remember in
Yeah.
dressing rooms
Yeah.
before gigs, you'd kind of work it out really. So it's probably the a real collaboration, if you like, with the things. But that's interesting you say that. I think we got that played on the radio quite a bit over here, and it was sort of the most commercial, which wasn't West Coasty kind of music,
Yeah.
Mm.
you
Yes.
know.
Yes, I think
but
that's the attraction too. Yeah,
it was
yeah.
just as successful as all the others.
Right, right.
Yeah,
A second track off of that album, "One Foot in the Boat." I like.
Oh
that's
yeah.
great. Great
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
Well, that I'd had that song actually even during that. I remember playing that for, record company people before our first album actually, and but yeah, and I think it's the one which has been most sort of quoted because it seems like they say I'm impersonating Roger McGuinn, but I mean it's just the way my voice sounds
Your
really,
voice, yeah, it does,
you
it
know.
does. Yeah.
But yeah, no, and it's an odd kind of song because it's quite dark in a way, but it's
Very dark.
yeah, it's very dark. But I remember this is when Michael Wackford was still alive. He was telling me a story that he was at his hairdressers or somewhere. I can't remember, and the song was playing, and it came to the line where, I danced on the window ledge to see if my feet could fly. I danced and danced till both my legs were shaking hands with the sky. And apparently the guy cutting his hair just fell about laughing at the lyric because he just thought it was so good, about your hands shaking hands with the sky.
Right, right.
But yeah, no, thanks for that. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah.
That's a good thing. I do remember we recorded the second album in a place called Rockfield, and
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
we were there for a couple of weeks in residence,
Hmm.
and Dan Loggins used to come down at the weekends, didn't he?
Yeah, he was hands off at that time, wasn't he? Really?
Yeah, but understandably, because
Yeah,
he did. I mean, he played harmonica on a couple of tracks, I think,
yeah.
but we were doing that. But then we did all the basic tracks, but then we came to London and we did some kind of overdubs, and that's when I did the sort of the 12 stringy bits. I think I even played the organ on that, but one note at a time, one finger at a time.
That's the only way I could do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
another track, "A Fool's Gold," I really enjoy.
Fool's Gold.
Well, you should hear the version. I'm going to send you Live 76. It arrives next week,
Oh,
But yeah, we did that at a TV show, and it's Ian's song. Yeah, he can tell you about it.
Yeah, it's interesting how that song came about. I was my girlfriend at the time was really interested in the way I wrote songs for some reason. Uh,
Nothing else that you did.
and and I thought, okay, I tell you, I said to her, look, I'll write you a song.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it was not really about her, but it was like to show her
How you did it.
how I did it,
Wow.
and the sort of the phrase relative minors comes to mind, and I think there is a relative minor in
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I remember saying to her, look, this is a relative minor going from a C major to an A minor chord, and
Hmm.
that's what I remember about that song. And yeah, it's a funny song because
Well, the falsetto part. I remember when we recorded the
yeah,
vocal, you did it when all of us had gone to bed.
yeah, I was just there
Bill, the
with Bill,
engineer. Yeah.
yeah, and Bill Aitken, and yeah, we did the vocal in the middle of the night. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's nice. That's a plus to have a girlfriend that's into your music too, and
Oh yeah,
not
yeah,
and
yeah.
then wants to know the process, behind
Yeah,
it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
always have a girlfriend that's into something you do. You know.
Right, right, yeah. Well,
Yeah, hopefully
well,
not being out of
well,
the house. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got two more tracks.
yeah,
Believe is another one that I really enjoy.
Okay, well, that's another Ross McGuinney song,
yeah,
sort of in the vein of Closer to You Now, actually. And again, a brilliant, lovely song. I think we actually helped him finish it
yeah,
because Ross had great inspiration, probably not as much application as Ian and I,
yeah.
but there's not a criticism. So he'd come in with all these, there's loads of other songs that he had just bits. He said, I've just got these bits,
Mm,
and he had these little sections, I was listening. Is that the one? No, it's I believe, maybe I got to believe
yeah,
it's that
yeah.
one, yeah. And so
Excuse
I
me.
think we helped him assemble it. And the great thing about that song, that track for me, is his guitar playing. He
Mm,
just has, he was inspired sometimes.
mm,
I feel a bit emotional
mm,
now.
mm.
That's quite all right. Well,
Yeah,
and then one last track, "Flames in the Rain."
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Now
tell
to
you,
me,
mate,
that's
you've
I
got
wanted
to
to say,
hear
I got that's
the
that to me
version, the version.
that's like a harder to me that's like a harder 8 Miles High. That
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I tell you what it was for me at the
uh,
time. I was obviously it was to me it was like crossing Chimes of Freedom with 8 Miles High. That was my
yeah,
idea
yeah.
because the instrumental parts are in E minor, which is 8 Miles High, and then the verses are G C, which is Chimes of Freedom.
yeah.
So I never had a call from Bob Dylan about it, so that's okay.
That's
There's
good.
on the album that Tony's going to send you a copy of the live remastered
Yeah,
remixed
yeah,
whatever.
it's 14-minute
It's
version.
14 minutes long.
Is that right? 14
Yeah,
Yeah.
minutes.
and I listened to it the other day, Tony, when I got here, and it's amazing. Yeah, it really. Even I'm
Oh.
playing it, and I think, who's that playing?
Yeah.
You know, it is
They
really.
didn't.
It's really. It reminds me of like a Rolling Stone, actually.
Well,
Yeah,
because it's got
Yeah,
that sort of beat maybe as
that's
well.
true. That's I hear
Yeah.
that. I
I
hear
yeah,
that.
remember I remember when we first started playing it live, sometimes kids would come in into the dressing room afterwards. I remember one particular chap raving about it, again, just probably our age or whatever. And I think I said to him, actually, that's only three of the 11 verses. And I thought I'd written more verses, but I could never find them actually. But there was supposed to be that. Bizarrely, listening to it recently, it almost feels topical in a way because it goes,
mm,
no single person is important, and that seems to be the Wales. And I talked
mm.
about the sacred game of chance, which is like this lottery thing which came about, and stuff. So anyway, I'm not going to quote my own lyrics because that's
It's okay.
but
Self-indulgent, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, sorry about that. But I really
Isn't
appreciate,
isn't that, yeah, self-indulgency? Isn't that what musicians do? Isn't that,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You got that right.
you got that right. Yeah,
second nature, right? No, no,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah, exactly.
Well, the band embarked on a 37-date U.S. tour. Who were some of the bands that you played in support of? Do you remember?
I can tell you,
Steve Miller. No,
no,
not Steve Miller. Dave Mason.
Dave Mason with a band, and
Yeah.
that was actually the best sound because it was one of those gymnasium type
Mm,
gigs, and there was loads of room, for the stage. 'Cause sometimes you're
yeah.
cramped, and the monitor sound
It's crystal clear.
was so it was like being in a studio, it
Mm,
was great. And he was big at the time, it was a big audience and stuff. In
who
we
else?
also played with the Jay Giles band,
Oh, right.
which was interesting. We did a 3 night residency at the Cellar Door in Washington supporting Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah.
Is that
And
right? Okay.
and it was obviously before I guess it was before he became a mega businessman and everything, So I don't remember much about it, but he was one of the guys. We also did a gig in New York State, bizarrely supporting Weather Report, which
Oh,
was kind of a mismatch of
that I
music.
was going to say that's kind of strange pairing that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
kind of odd. I'll
Didn't
tell
we
you.
play with Toots and the Maytals?
Well, the other thing was we played in Cleveland, a place called the Smiling Dog Saloon,
Yeah.
for 5 nights, I think. The first 5 nights, we were supporting a guy called Garland Jeffries.
Oh, I'm familiar with Garland Jeffrey.
Yeah, the interesting thing about him, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying it, is that we were in the dressing room together, and there was a kind of somebody from the bar came in and said something to him, and he jumped out the back window. And it turned out it was somebody from the American Federation of Musicians looking to get his dues being paid.
Oh, is that right?
So, Garland the Rebel. I love it,
Yeah,
really.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, unfortunately, those first 4 nights with supporting Garland, we played to the bar staff.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
was it was it. But the fifth night, the Saturday, we
yeah.
supported Toots and the Maytals.
Yes. Now that's a strange pairing there too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the place was just steaming, rocking, really. I
Right.
actually saw Toots and the Maytals at a festival in England in up just in near it's called Cornbury about 10 years ago. And I believe it was the same lineup. And they
Okay.
were just amazing. Obviously it was outdoors and everything, So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. What is it? I was going to mention Joe Jackson, but Garland
Oh,
Jeffries, his vocals remind me of Joe Jackson. Also, Elvis Costello and Graham Parker.
Yeah.
Those all their vocal style is similar to me, to my
Yes,
ear.
I agree.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It became a
yeah,
thing, didn't it,
yeah.
really?
It
For
did. It did.
that
It did. Right.
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me think if I've forgotten anybody. We supported somebody in Long Island. It was do you remember who that was?
Well, there was the James Montgomery band.
Oh yeah, but there was a black musician. God, yeah, isn't it weird? I can't remember, but
Not
it
Gil
was
Scott Heron.
no, it
No,
wasn't. But it was a place called My Father's Place.
Yeah.
Which and then we met. I remember meeting a band called the Good Rats. They were lovely guys.
oh, the Good Rats. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no.
I know
But I
that.
guess, do you know them, the Good
Yeah,
Rats? Did
yeah.
you? Yeah. And so it was nice to do that. But I think we were too early for like CBGBs and those things because it was like only 75. Maybe
Mm.
that was maybe all those bands were around. I think the Good Rats. I remember them mentioning CBGBs actually. But yeah, that was a place. I think we did about 3 nights there as well. And then yeah, I think that's probably about it actually, unless we've forgotten somebody who's going to sue us. But I can't I can't think of anybody else really. I mean, it was bizarre. The thing was, we were CBS, which was a subsidiary of Columbia, and a guy from Columbia came over and assessed us kind of thing. He was kind of checking us out because he was putting together a thing called the New Faces Tour where they were going to promote their signings, and try and get some. And they'd booked all these dates, but with a different band, kind of, 1 week there'd be, the Sods or something, and then the next week there'd be us. But it turned out that some of the people that were booking them were so disappointed with some of the earlier acts that they cancelled the next
Oh,
one.
oh, they did.
So we
Okay.
were supposed to do about 80 gigs,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it turned out to be of the ones we did on that tour, it was only about 20 or 5 or something. But when we were over there, we hooked up with an agent who put us, and the agency was great. They had Roger McGuinn and all the big Leonard Cohen, and he got us these gigs, more of these gigs like with the Jay Gars band and Dave Mason and stuff like that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I think so. It ended up with 37 in the end,
Mm.
but we,
Oh,
but
right.
we were there for three
Yeah.
months,
You know,
so
Dave Mason, I know he's been in the US for forever, it seems like. But
yeah.
if you hear him talk, he's lost all of his English accent.
Has he really?
Yeah, if you listen to
Wow.
him, just listen to him. It's like I'm surprised that he ever came from the UK. If you just hear him talk, I don't detect it at all.
Really?
But
Wow.
that shows you how long he's been. Yeah,
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 yeah. I mean,
yeah.
another guy who seems to have been there a long time is Peter Frampton, but I think he still sounds English, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He
Yeah,
still has that. He still has that.
he's great as well. I loved. He was in a band called The Herd.
The herd.
I
That's
used
right.
to love that. Yeah.
That's right.
Well, yeah. After that, but the Herd were a pop band.
Mm. Mm.
Really. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, who was it? I can and Peter, I can edit this part out. I just want to look up because that came up recently in an interview too. The herd. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah.
Members. There's some who else was in that?
Uh,
Andy
Gary,
Bound.
Andy
Andy
Steele, Andy Bown, who
Andy
who who
Bound.
joined Status
Gary,
Quo.
Gary,
That's there, and you just
Gary.
tied it back in for me. See, the more of these interviews I do, everything kind of gets convoluted too, and it's hard for me to just.
Yeah,
Well, who was
yeah.
that said that? Who was that music? Yeah, I just talked to John Coughlin, the drummer from Status Quo.
Oh yeah, yeah.
he
Okay.
lives in the same village as me.
Oh, he does.
He lives at the
Okay.
other end of the village. I've
Does
never
he?
met him, but I know people who know him. Wow.
You'll have to go say hi.
I
Yeah, yeah.
will. I
That's
will.
where that Andy Bound just came up. Yeah, we were just talking about that. I just talked to him just the other day. Wow. Okay.
Really? Well, how was he? Because I've heard he's not been well. So
Yeah. He's not. His memory is slipping a little bit.
Mm.
His wife helped out, kind of fill in some of the blanks a few times, and
oh yes,
it was almost like a comedy at parts. She was yelling at him, like he would say, "What was that? What was that?" And she was on the other side of the room and yelling. He said, "Stop yelling at me." It was funny. It was humorous. It was
that's
humorous.
really
Yeah.
cool. I've heard. I'd say I've never met them. I did
Yeah.
hear at one point when I first was here that he was playing in a Status Quo tribute band.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that
yeah, he
true?
did. Yes, yes, he did. Yes,
Oh,
he did.
okay.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
Gosh.
Yeah. So
So
that
who
was enough.
Who else was Gary somebody, the bass
Yeah,
player.
I can't remember
Andrew
his.
Steele, I think, was the drummer.
Yes, I can't remember Gary's surname.
Gary,
Oh,
It'll
okay.
come, Glitter. No, it wasn't that.
Oh, yeah.
no.
Oh, speaking of, also, I talked to Louis Sinamo. Do you know Louis or Louis?
Say again,
Louis
what's he said?
Yes, he's a
Sinamo.
bass
Sinamo. Was it
player. Bass.
Yeah,
Oh, you
bass
quickly
He's a
guitar.
interviewed
bass
him.
player. Yeah,
Right, right. I
yeah,
talked to him, and this has been 2 or 3 years ago now. Yeah,
right.
right. And he was in yeah,
So
Coliseum and Renaissance and the Herd. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he played in all
Oh,
the.
I
really?
think I saw him with Colosseum.
Okay.
I
Yes.
saw him play with Colosseum at
Yeah.
Brighton Dome again.
Okay. That was
Yeah.
okay. Well, just mentioned briefly. Tony, you, Ross, and Michael would release a couple more singles as Starry Eyed,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
Song on the Radio and Saturday,
Yes,
both
yeah.
from '76. I guess Ian, you'd already left the band by then?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The story of that is we supported Flo and Eddie at the bottom line, as I mentioned,
Mm.
and lovely, lovely people. And then when we came back, we kind of broke up, didn't we, in a way? But
Mm.
I was good friends with Dan Loggins, and he was still sort of keen and stuff. I think at one point, I can't remember if this is the timeline, but he thought he would try and get the company run by Bruce Johnson and Terry Melcher, was it? I think they had a thing to produce some tracks for us. But anyway, in the end, he because Flo and Eddie were on Columbia, he got them, and they were up for it, I guess, because they'd been ripped off so much, by the Turtles. Any kind of good income was good for them, so they flew over to the UK. Ian had formed Kites, so we were down to a three-piece,
Okay.
and I'd demoed some songs with Michael and Ross. There's three songs actually, three songs, and then we met up with Flo and Eddie, Mark and Howard, and went to a rehearsal studio, and they helped arrange the songs, a little bit, and then went into studio with them, and it was the most fantastic time, really. They had a guy came to visit who I only met that one time called Greg Shaw, who was the Who Put the Bomb guy, a lovely guy. And they also had a girl called Sable Star, who I believe was a fabled groupie of the time.
Okay.
But they were so funny, I mean, my song on the radio, they did some background vocals on it,
Yeah.
which, having Flo and Eddie sing on my song was just all the songs was amazing. But I remember at the end they were doing the spoof thing where they were, you can hear my song on the radio, take a shower with your radio, and coming up with this, a bit like in that song Eleanor, where they go, how is the weather? No, Happy Together. How
Happy. Yeah.
is the weather? It's that kind of.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
such fun. I used to go and pick them up from the hotel in my car and take them to the studio. It was great, and I think they really hit. So we recorded three songs with them actually, and then we got in a friend of Mike's from Brighton called Steve Lewis to play bass. But I mean, he's great, but I think he played basically what I'd said should be the bass part, really, as I do with Ian, of course, most of the time. But no, I'm joking. Uh, there's nobody can match him. He's a fantastic bass player. So yeah, we did those. We recorded three songs, but by that time, I guess there was no marketing kind of impetus for the band, and I don't know whose idea it was to shorten it to Starry Eyed. I remember when Mark was asked about it in an interview in Melody Maker, I think he said, "Oh, laughing left."
I was gonna say, Ian left, so he
Yeah,
was the laughing part.
yeah.
Which is probably as far from the truth as you can get, actually.
At the time, yeah,
Yeah.
at the time it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then so they released one single with a bit of promo and then a second one, but the third song never got released. Although I've put it out on a sort of archival thing,
Mm, mm.
really. And
All right. All right.
it,
Well,
it's cool.
well, Ian, who else was in Kites?
Do
Um,
that. It's got to share my
Okay.
phone.
my well, let's see. Oh gosh. My girlfriend and her sister, who were both very good singers, so we had the three-part harmony thing going on. Roger Kelly was in
Was
Kites.
he really?
Yeah, he
Wow.
was for some of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We did one gig with on drums we had Malcolm Mortimer, who was in Gentle
Oh,
Giant.
Gentle Giant. Yes,
Gentle Giant.
yes, yes.
You know
Yeah,
Gentle Giant.
yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I do.
And
Yes, I do.
a bass player called George Denisiev. And they were both very good, but they weren't really interested in staying in the band. So then I got an old friend from Brighton, Hank
Yeah,
Young. He played
yeah,
bass because I'd switched to guitar by that time,
yeah,
and a guy called Maurice McElroy
I
yeah.
on
remember that
drums.
name.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Well,
we did quite a few gigs as Kites.
And you did some
okay.
demos at CBS, didn't you?
Yeah,
Mhm.
we did some
Okay.
demos. Yeah,
Okay.
we
Well,
never really got off the ground
yeah.
as a
Well,
recording band.
well, I'm not trying to plug my channel and stuff, but you're mentioning guys that come up. I talked to Derek Schulman, Gentle Giant. Yeah.
Right.
He's in New York, you know. I guess he's been there for
Oh,
a
okay,
while.
yeah.
Yes, that was
No,
another
we'll be
recent.
plugging your channel. I'm not just. No,
Well,
it's
well, some
fantastic.
of these that I remember, I can send you the link so you don't have to scroll through to find them.
Thanks.
Some of these that I remember, yeah, yeah. He was
Yeah,
another one
thanks
I
a
was
lot.
really surprised. It
Wow.
was his agent that helped set it up, so that always helps if you know
Yeah, I
some.
guess so. Yeah, no, it's crazy. I just quickly looked. So we supported Manfred Mann's Earth Band.
Oh,
Yeah, at a
okay,
place called the
okay,
Shaboo, and that was amazing. I
Yeah.
remember standing because some of these people, a bit like Flo and Eddie, you'd seen them on the TV shows, on the chart shows, and standing next to Manfred Mann at the
yeah.
bar, and it's been Manfred Mann. I thought they were
Oh yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah.
I like the early material, the pop material from the '60s, but I prefer Manfred Mann's Earth Band. I prefer
Yeah,
that
Blinded
era.
by the
Yeah.
Light.
Chris
Yeah,
Thompson.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like both actually. I think
I-
probably more familiar with the, Ha Ha Said the Clown and things like that,
yes, yes,
Mm.
yes.
which is poppy, as you say. Yeah, and the other one that we played with in Long Island was Papa John Preach.
That's right.
Papa John
Oh,
Preach.
That's right.
Yeah,
oh, okay, okay.
yeah,
I just talked to a violinist too, and
yeah, yeah.
we referenced him in the interview.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
again a strange kind of bill, really. We
yeah,
also supported Wendy Waldman. I'd forgotten
oh,
that.
Wendy
yeah,
Waldman.
Wendy Waldman, is that how you say it? Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yes.
I think that completes the list.
Yeah, it's
But
all
I
coming.
don't know how we forgot Manfred Mann's because that was two nights, I think, wasn't it? Or was it
Was
just
it? I
one?
don't know.
Yeah, it was a lovely place called the Shaboo in Connecticut, I think it was.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, you did quite a bit of production work with different bands. I noticed a lot heavily dealing with the folk genre. Matty Pryor, Steel Ice Band, Pentangle. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Did you always have an affinity for folk music? Yeah.
I think so, actually.
Did you?
I think I had more of affinity to earning some money to pay the bill. I
Okay.
think that was my main affinity.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
But no, because I used to the busking, and then I used to do not only with Ross, I used to do floor spots in clubs around Buckinghamshire where I lived. There'd always be a folks. There was one in a town called Stony Stratford. There used to be two pubs along the high street, one called the Cock and one called the Bull. I don't know if that's where the story comes from,
Is
but
this a cock and bull story?
yeah,
Is
but
that, yeah.
you could go in there and do a floor spot. I mean, I remember playing supports a band called Magna Carta. There was a
Oh, I love Magna Carta. Yes.
do you know them? Wow,
Yes.
this is
Yes.
amazing. You actually know.
Chris Simpson. He's not well. I reached out to
Oh,
him to do an interview. One of the main songwriters
right.
behind the
Wow.
band. He's older too. He's getting up there. But I
Oh,
reached out, and the agent said that he's not doing real well.
oh,
Not
what a
well enough to do
shame.
an interview. But yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Do you remember the song Airport Song?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, that's the one I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Mm.
mean, I can't. They used to get names up, obviously, to maybe get a bit of an audience, but it was a folk.
Yep.
Obviously, it
Yep.
wasn't. There was no electric instruments involved, so it was a folky kind of thing. I think once I actually did a floor spot supporting Davy Graham, who was It was a place called Cousins in Greek Street in London, and they
Uh,
used to do these all night sessions. So I go down there, and then there was no alcohol, and I remember the floor spot was you just got up and did a song or something, and everybody was sitting around cross-legged, and you could do. But I remember, I mean, I'm not being indulgent here, but I remember there was a guy there who was going to read some poetry, and so he asked me if I'd accompany him. So I played Everybody's Been Burned, the instrumental part under his very Shakespearean poetry, So, and then Davy Graham I
yeah.
was sitting at the feet of Davy Graham, So
Oh, I love his style, finger picking style, Davy Graham.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I kind of learned to play the acoustic guitar obviously first, and one of the first things I remember not struggling, but eventually getting was Angie, which
Yeah, indeed.
but it was the Paul Simon version,
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
and it still could be a party piece if I ever went to a party, these days it would
Uh,
be a thing. Yeah,
Davy and Bert Jansch too.
yeah. Oh God, I'll tell you another story about Bert Yance. Ian and I had a duo residency in the 80s where we played, I don't know what, Rickenbacker bass guitar, wall bass, wasn't it? And a little drum machine. And one time we were in this place in Battersea, it's our regular thing, and there was this tousle-haired guy at the bar nursing a half lager, and I thought I recognized him, but as we finished the song, he was walking past and he left a little note on the thing, and he said, "Great, get a real drummer, Bert."
Did
It
he?
was
He
Bert
It
said
was
Yance.
Bert Yance because he
that.
had a shop just up the road, So and bizarrely, the very next gig we had a real drummer, so
Yeah,
we took his advice.
you
But
did.
he was great. He was amazing, and John Rembord, those
Oh,
guys.
another one.
So
Yeah.
just to get back to your folk thing, yeah, I always loved that. Hearing John, even John Peel used to play. Is it John Fay? I can't remember.
John Fay, yeah.
Yeah, John Fay.
Yeah.
Those kind of instrumental
Right.
guitar,
Right.
acoustic guitar things. And
Yeah.
then it came about that I got involved actually not doing music, but helping out with their publishing and
Mhm.
various bits and pieces for a local folk label in Oxford called Park
Oh,
Records,
was that
and
right?
got very friendly with the John, the MD, and and he was managing Steel Eye Span at the
Oh,
time, and so eventually he kind of thought, oh, Tony's musical, he doesn't just do admin. And I ended up producing a few Steel Eye Span records, I think, really. I say producing, I was mostly mixing them, really. Maddie, I did produce a few. I've released a solo record for her and one she did with her daughter and another girl called Abby. And I think I've probably mastered quite a lot of Steel Eye Span records that came through Part Records, as it were. And that was the connection with Jackie McShee as well,
oh,
from
Jackie, right, right.
Pentangle. And the
Yeah.
story with them is they'd done they'd recorded a concert at a town up the road here,
Uh,
and they wanted to add, and it was all live, and I got to mix it because it had a multi-track, but they
yeah.
wanted to do an extra song. So I rented a little house down in Surrey, and they lived nearby. So Jackie and Jerry Conway, who was her
Yeah.
partner,
Yes.
came up to my little house and they did this song called the Greenwood Side, where it was Jackie singing and Jerry just playing a cajon, or something like that. And Jackie was in my bedroom singing, and Jerry was downstairs playing the cajon, and I was in my control room. So I was
Yeah.
thinking again, Jackie McShee's in my bedroom. I mean,
Yeah.
not in that sense, and I'd seen her on Top of the Pops, and
Right. Right. Yeah.
do that.
Well,
And
I mean, speaking.
it was literally just voice and cajon.
Uh-huh.
But when we were came to mix it, because they stayed around, they were both lovely people.
Uh-huh.
Um, Jerry was sort of saying he had an idea that it should sound a little bit like something off Sergeant Pepper, which is quite hard to do with one voice and a cajon.
Right. Yes, it
So
would be.
I rigged up
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
these echoes and things like that, and it was quite happy. And I remember it was reviewed, and somebody said it reminded them of a Daniel Lanois record or something,
Oh, is that
because he
right?
was always into that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the other interesting stories which you realize about folk musicians is they're not that interested in the technical side. Because I remember when I put Jackie's voice up on the speakers, And she said, "What's that funny sound?" And I said, "Well, that's the reverb." She didn't
She
really
didn't know.
understand what reverb was
She didn't know
particularly.
what that was.
The other weird story I've got was Steel I Span recorded an album produced by themselves down in Cornwall with an engineer, but they insisted he didn't use any technical trickery, no compression, no reverbs. So he did his mixes, and when they heard it, it didn't sound very good to them because it wouldn't, you know.
Right, right. It
So
wouldn't.
I got the tracks to do, and I remember getting a phone call from the engineer in tears. He said, "Well, I was just doing what they told me to do."
Right. Just following orders.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And I mixed it with compression and reverb and all that, and I think they were quite happy with that. But it just shows you the distance between their thing is music, isn't it, really? And the thing about Steel I Span is they were so brilliant in the early days. Well,
Yes,
they still are actually, but the early lineup because they sometimes wrote songs and said they were traditional,
yes,
you know.
yes. Right, right. A couple of things. Jackie McShee, Kevin Dempsey, right?
Yeah, I know of him, but I don't. Yeah,
Okay.
don't. Yeah,
I interviewed him, and he works with Jackie.
really?
They do a duet.
Do they? Oh, she's
Yeah,
still because Jerry died last year, I think, didn't
right.
he?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But he and
Oh,
Kevin Dempsey, yeah.
wow.
Like,
Oh, is that right? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
right.
No, she was
Yeah.
very self-possessed. One thing I noticed about her, and I'm sure it's not, is how quietly she sang. That beautiful voice. But it was almost like you had to turn everything up to capture it in a way. And actually, that's probably what gave it its quality.
Right.
The fact that it was sung so quietly, but you had to make it sit above the instrumentation, even if it was
Mm.
only a cajon. But yeah, she was just fantastic, unique
Right.
voice.
And another band that comes to mind, they didn't make it as well as, the Fairports and Steel Eye and those bands, but a string driven thing. Do you
Mm.
remember the
Yeah, we
Scottish
played
band?
with them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
did you?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess we're from that time when there was Jack the Lad was another, spin-off
Yes.
of Lindisfarne. But yeah, String Driven Thing, they were kind of folky, weren't they? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, they were.
Decameron, do you know just
Oh,
Decameron?
yes. One of my favorites.
Oh God,
Decameron.
this is
Yeah.
wow. Well,
Yeah.
we supported them in Birmingham. I don't know why, just Decameron,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was quite a few of those. There was a band called Gypsy. They weren't folky, but they were kind of folk rocky,
Mm.
things. We supported them. But yeah, String Driven Thing. I can't remember. A lot of the time, I can't remember the gigs, but I remember
Right.
the names. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was a thriving musical concert circuit, if you like, gig circuit, because the colleges, the people in from the social secretaries, they had a budget, to
Oh,
book the band. So all the agents in London would just have this huge number of. I mean, I think we got to see England, didn't we? Really, we did about
Mm.
300 gigs in the year. It
Mm.
was kind of
yeah, doing that. Yeah.
yeah.
Dick Cadbury. That's who I talked to. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that. He played with Decameron. He was in the
Yes,
band. Yeah.
he did.
I
Oh,
was
Dick
I,
has it, and he spelled his name DIK, I think, didn't
DIK. Yes, he
oh
did.
he? Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
wow, gosh,
So,
yeah.
so if I
Who else have we
remember
got?
right, I could go through my list and see.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to move on, and Ian,
Yeah.
tell us about how you came to join Mick Kaminski and Violinski.
Oh wow.
Uh, God, you're really stretching me now. Well, they'd already had a hit with on the first album with Clog Dance. I think that was their main hit, which was written by um, I forget his, but Marcangelo. That was his surname. Uh, anyway, no, he wrote that. And they had a big hit. Then for some reason, um, the the bass player. Oh no, it was Mike D. Albuquerque. He
Yes,
was with
Albuquerque. Yes, yes,
Yeah, he was with ELO
yes.
as well, and he wanted to start writing more songs and playing guitar instead. So they wanted to get a bass player in, and I think I was recommended to them
by your girlfriend.
by my girlfriend, who said he's a very good songwriter. He knows the relative minors. No, so um,
That's a nice recommendation there too.
yeah, I think it might even have been John Tobler.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
our press officer at CBS.
Yeah, it might even have been John Tobler who recommended they get in touch with me. And I can't swear to it, but it might have been him. And so I went along, and I basically, they really wanted, I never got to play with them. I
Oh.
never did any gigs or anything. And
Oh,
I didn't even play on the second record. I only sang. I
Oh.
sang half the songs because Mike de Albuquerque wrote about 5 songs for the album, and the other 5 were the other members of the band, the drummer, whose name I forget, I'm afraid,
mm.
and Paul Marcangelo or David Mark.
Pepe.
Yeah, Pepe. He's the keyboard player. So I sang their songs, and we went to Cologne, and we recorded in a studio there with Mac, a guy called Mac.
Just
Okay.
MAC.
No, Mack, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Okay.
German
John,
producer.
it is John Marcangelo. John
John
Marcangelo.
Marcangelo.
Great.
John Marcangelo.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. And yeah, the drummer, who's sorry, his name escapes me. I think he'd been playing with Rick Wakeman.
He's going to tell us in a minute.
I got you, John Hodgson.
John Hodgson.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
played with
Yeah.
Rick Wakeman.
I think he did before Violinski.
Okay.
So what happened?
Yes.
They
Yes,
just
he did. Yes, he did. You're
Good.
right on. Yeah. Yes,
Oh
he
God,
did.
isn't it amazing? My memories. Thank you, Greg. You're stirring up
I'm sparking
things like
that.
So yes, I went to Cologne with the band. I had a really, really bad cold. I remember we got drunk several nights in a row, and
Before the studio.
no, after the studio. And I recorded all my vocals for those tracks, and that was it. The album came out, but it didn't do anything, so we never gigged.
Oh, wow.
Never
Did you get paid?
Oh yeah, I got paid. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. At least that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, in 1983, the two of you and Kinks drummer Nick Trevisick recorded as The Sun and released the single "Start the Countdown."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the connection there is that next gig after Bert Yance recommended we get a drummer was the one with Nick Trevisick.
Oh, that's Nick. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. All right.
And as if you've known Nick, he was a friend of yours, wasn't he? I think. Never a friend of mine.
Well,
No, he
I
was a
met
friend
him
of mine.
through Stephen Banks Dukes.
Oh, okay,
Really,
right.
it was that crew,
Oh,
the
right.
Imagination Records thing that
There was a bunch of London musicians who did lots of sessions. No, they weren't the Wrecking Crew really, but he was the drummer for that, and
Yeah.
so we did those gigs. I think we were still just a duo, but Nick joined us, and then we called ourselves the Sun, and we
Yeah.
had a manager, and he was quite, he was a good business kind of guy, and he got us some deal to record at Abbey Road. So the whole episode was worth it just for that,
Just to get to record there.
Yeah, I mean, just being in that studio, and then we hooked up with a couple of engineer producers, Hayden Bendel and God, what was the other guy's name? It was lovely, lovely guy. Anyway, and then so we recorded the single there and a B-side, I think, and what have you. And we did about 50 gigs, I think, as it were. But
Was it that many?
our manager, John, at the time, he got us a distribution deal for a label he'd set up with a company called IDS in south of the river.
Okay.
And
Not IBS.
no, IDS. Oh, that was their illness.
Sorry.
Name a label after that.
Yeah. And it's yeah, the studio, isn't it, as well?
That would be
No, and they I can't say they were very nice people. The famous story for them is that Tom Robinson, who Nick Trevisick had played with, he'd played in Tom Robinson. Tom was not the hit single band, but played with him as a gigging thing, you know.
Mm.
Nick was also in a band called Moon, so he graduated from Moon to the Sun, you know, which is kind of the right way to go.
That's the thing to do.
Yeah. Next stop, Beta
Yeah.
Centauri, you
Oh,
know.
yeah. That's
But
funny.
yeah, so but the IDS put out a record by Tom Robinson after the hits. It was a solo thing called War Baby. I don't know if you remember that song.
Okay.
And it was a top 10 single, you know. But instead of him getting all the money for it, they pressed up another 50,000 copies or something. So and they all sat on a shelf and got, you know, junked after a while because all the sales had gone, you know. So I don't think they were with the best of intentions, those people, you know. But I don't think that was the reason we didn't get anything with the Sun or Start the Countdown, you know, which
Mm.
is Ian's song. It's probably just the fact that maybe like with Starry Eyed, it was out of time, you know, we were out of the wrong
Mm.
time, you know,
Mm.
it was just kind of that thing. I mean, I do hate people that say, oh, we never made it because the management was bad, you know, and stuff, because it's so many
Mm.
factors, you
Mm.
know,
It is.
it's
It
nothing to
is.
do with that.
As that all your ducks have to line up in a row. They really do. Yeah.
Exactly,
The
yeah.
timing, the luck, everything has to
Yeah, and
fall in place. Yeah.
yeah, and it works sometimes it works for the good guys.
Well,
Right.
speaking of which, I mean, I made a whole solo album for the Imagination label,
Uh-huh.
which was the label that had all
Those musicians.
the Wrecking Crew kind of guys
Oh,
on
okay.
it.
Is that the
And
one?
very interestingly, I've still got the master tapes because the album never came out. I've still got the master tapes, and
Oh,
I only last week sent off a quarter-inch two-track mix of the whole album to
oh,
be baked and transferred onto a USB and Dropbox, and it's going to be sent here,
yeah.
and we're gonna actually release that album eventually. So my
That's
solo album that was my pride and joy at the time,
Oh,
actually.
it's tragic.
Yeah,
It's tragic.
and
Yeah.
so that's gonna be coming out soon as
oh,
well.
that
That's
will be
that's going to be called
The
The
Angel.
Angel Changes Shape.
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
It's yeah,
That
fascinating.
wow,
Yeah.
that's something else to look forward to. Okay. Well, like I
Yeah.
said, you
Glad you
guys are
think so.
you guys are very, as I said earlier, most prolific. Wow. You know,
Yeah.
with your
Well, nice to hear,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah. Sometimes
yeah,
it doesn't feel it, but you know, you kind of you can't stop sometimes, you
No,
know.
no.
right. Oh no, no. If that music is within you, it's going to come out. And
Yeah. Do you find
well,
that with the people you talk to, you know,
yeah,
that
yes, yes. Once a
yeah.
musician, always a musician. Yeah,
And the thing about it, you know, nowadays they've got like stage schools and stuff. You know, a lot of these
yeah.
pop artists come through, but
Right.
and the ambition is to
There's
be famous. You know, but for
uh,
for people the likes of us,
oh no, no,
it
yeah,
never crossed our mind
no,
particularly. It would
no.
just be like it would
Mm.
be a nice bonus if you could have a place with
Right,
a
right.
swimming pool.
It's like if you have that musician, inside you, it's not a choice. It's you have to do it. It's I've heard
Yeah,
so many times.
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
regardless.
right,
Mm.
right. But
That's
even
right.
if it doesn't work out or you don't make lots of money, yeah,
No,
exactly,
there's a saying, it's paraphrasing, you know, if you give a man, you know, a small amount of money, he'll be poor for a while. But if you give him a guitar and he learns to play it, he'll be poor for the rest of his life.
That's right. Exactly. Oh, that's
Oh
right.
God.
Yeah, that's well said
Or
too.
even worse, a banjo.
A
Yeah.
banjo.
Oh, Steve Martin's doing all right, isn't he?
Yeah,
Right,
but I mean,
banjo,
Steve Martin.
banjo or ukulele too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Uh, well, uh, in 2009, a full-length album, "Start the Countdown," was released. Was that all of the songs you guys recorded?
Yeah, in fact, it came about because I'd found all of these like demos that we'd done, and some were rehearsal tapes actually as well. And then with you know, I guess because I've got kind of, I remember at the time we were in Starry Eyed, you know, Dan Loggins, because I was always much more hands-on or over the engineer's shoulder, you know, with stuff. I don't know if you were, but he always said to me, "I think you'll be a producer one day," you know. So no.
No, I wasn't.
No.
I was at the back on the sofa reading a magazine.
You were on the back showing Lucy how you were a songwriter,
Yeah.
essentially.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
No, and so I guess because I kind of, after a time, you realize you've just absorbed the certain skills that are necessary for this kind of stuff, you know, like pressing the power button on the computer to turn it on, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I found all these things and I just put them into an album. I remastered them. I don't think it did anything. We didn't anything to them, did we really? And it just turned out there was just that enough song. Oh, the other thing was after the single came out, we did record 5 songs for a cassette. Do you remember? It was like How to Save Your Own Life,
Mm.
Message from the Heart. So some of them were actual studio recordings that just didn't get released. Although
Right.
they were we used to go around on the gigs, the few gigs, we didn't press any records. We just had cassettes,
You sold them.
and we
Yeah.
sold the cassettes for a couple of quid or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those became the main thing. And then there was a few other sort of demos that never, or rehearsal tapes really, that came about. And the thing is, we're very much a cottage industry, I mean, I don't, just from experience, I think even though you do more work yourself, I mean, you actually send out the records yourself and everything. It's much more rewarding and also, um, I won't say lucrative, but you feel a bit more rewarded really for it. So, but with
Mm.
that record, it hasn't, I don't think it ever got reviewed anywhere really. But Starry Eyed and Laughing still had some fans, and I've been very good actually since 2000, something like that, that I keep a record of everybody who's bought a CD, so I've got quite a large number of people that are out there, and if they hear about, or sometimes, they see it on the website, they'll buy the record, so that's
Yeah.
kind of, and
Those
it's
are,
very small, but
Yeah.
it's
oh, yeah. Well,
yeah,
but you got the loyal fans there. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
which is great, it is definitely. I don't know if you're going to get on to Bennett Wilson Poole, if I'm going to
Oh,
preempt you,
yeah, yeah. That's all right. That's all right.
but I went out on the road with them because I
Uh,
did their first record, mostly myself, actually, I have to say, but with their songs and mine, and we did about 80 gigs in a year. But the gigs, the interesting thing was, people would come up to me with copies of the Starry Eyed album to sign. And
Mm.
say this was in 2018. They'd say, I last
yeah,
saw you on stage in 1974,
yes, yes.
which was really because I used to pick up on that. It happened more than once, and I remember saying from stage once or twice because he becomes part of the act. That was as if somebody came up to us in 1974 and said, "I last saw you with Rudy Valley in 1930."
Mm.
Right.
It's the same time gap,
It is. It is. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, the loyal fans is great, and I must say, when I sell the records, because I do most of it, not to it's nothing that just because I got the stuff here,
Mm.
but the personal emails I get back are worth a million reviews,
Mm.
and stuff. They're just great.
Mm.
Right. 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 Exactly. Yeah. To me, it's time. I mean,
Yeah,
of course, as you get older, it passes quickly, more,
yeah,
faster as you get older. But just like, let's say 15 years,
yeah,
it's like this today. But
yes,
Mm.
when I was born in 61, and I say like 15, 16 years before that, we're talking
yeah,
World War II, and
yes.
Yeah.
it's like that bizarre, when I think 15 years from now in the past is like not much has changed, and really a lot of things haven't changed that much, but when you
No,
think from the early 60s to World War II, quite a bit, it,
absolutely.
it
Like the
changed.
world went from black and white to color in a way.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Cars had big fins.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
It
right.
was,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it was,
make a joke with some people. I say, because black and white, there were no color photos. So I said, your whole life was black and white. I mean, we don't
yeah,
have proof. We don't have any proof that there was actual color,
I love it.
right?
Are you a science fiction fan? Because I
Oh, a little
definitely,
bit. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We watch science fiction stuff all the time,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that sounds like an episode of The Twilight Zone,
Doesn't it? Yeah.
which were in black and white as well, weren't they? I think,
Right.
Yeah, they
Right.
were.
yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's funny. There's no proof that Bing Crosby actually was not black and white.
That's right. Everything back then was black and white. Yeah,
Yeah,
there,
it's very,
there
it
was.
almost looks unreal when you see a colorized photo of the of World
Yeah,
War II. But
yeah,
your point is amazing. It's true, I mean the change is just
yeah,
I don't know how quickly it happened. It happened more slowly in the UK. To me, it didn't feel like it changed till about 1961.
yeah.
Well, oh, it's just the year you were born, obviously,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
And up to then, because I was at a boarding school as well, up to then it just seemed all black and white in England, because there was still austerity, there was still rationing till the mid 50s, I think, it was
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
a
Right,
weird
right,
thing.
right.
And then it exploded, with Dantelion's Chariot and
Yeah,
Paisley,
right, right. I have a song by them. I know, like on a various artist. Dantellian
really.
Chariot. I know I've got one.
Wow.
Well, uh, Ian, I wanted to try to get a few more of these things in here. This is going to be an epic interview, but that's okay.
Sorry about that. We do
No,
talk.
that's quite all right. That's quite all
Uh,
right. I want to try to get everything in. Talk about your solo album War Cries from 2008.
Well, War Cries, that was after the album that I mentioned that we're trying to bring out fairly soon. That all went down the pan, and I was just trying to recover from that really.
you were in, yeah,
And
deep.
Tony was living in Shepherd's Bush,
Hmm.
and I just said, I've got these songs, and I was still with the management guy, Stephen Bankler-Dukes, and he agreed to. I think you did get paid for making those demos, didn't you?
Off.
You got half of it,
Yeah,
did you?
yeah. So that quid you say I owe you. It's a long time
I'll
ago.
get it to you. Okay.
You'll get
That's
it.
your
You'll get
drink.
Yes, yeah. So I
it.
had this bunch of songs, and they were very sort of eclectic kind of songs. I mean, I was very into uh Sting and the Police at the time, and Steely Dan, and they're really demos, aren't they?
Well, I
You,
just to say this, obviously there was no budget for studios, but I had a 4-track
yeah.
TAC. So Ian would come round and we used a little drum machine, and sometimes you would play the drums on
Uh,
an
uh,
upturned washing up bowl,
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
and then
okay.
we
Yeah.
just improvised with the things. It was almost like, when the Everly Brothers, there was a song where the drummer's just tapping his knee or something,
Mm.
it's kind of
Yeah.
that sound really. So they're just 4 tracks, but I used to bounce them, and make them a bit more epic. I know in more recent times I've listened to them and with some sort of, I haven't got the master tapes anymore, but from the stereo mixes that are on that War Cries, I thought we could make it a bit more, better sounding in some
Mm.
way. But it's time, you need a clone of yourself sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I do. There were some good songs on that.
Right. War Cries itself is a
Yeah,
fantastic song,
yeah. Do you know it? Are you familiar with the songs or?
No, no, I haven't had a
Oh,
chance to
okay.
Oh
listen.
well, I should get you some copies of these things. Let's
Yeah,
let's sort that out.
yeah.
Well,
Because
now see, you're on to me now. You're on to me. You found out what my motive behind doing these is so I can get these releases from you guys.
Right, right. Okay,
Now
okay.
you're like you've got me now.
okay. Well, this is such fun. It is
No,
such fun. It's been a
Yeah,
no,
it
pleasure.
is.
it,
It's
it's
great. It's
Yeah.
great
it's
fun.
not. But several of you guys have been very nice enough to do that. But that's not at all the reason. But
No, we know.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, yeah. Is
Yes.
what but yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Sure.
Speaking of Bennett Wilson and Poole, I visited with Robin.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yeah,
yes. I
that's
think
enough.
Ian said
Oh,
that. Yeah.
okay, you saw that one. Yeah,
I
I
hadn't
came.
seen it actually, but I hadn't had time to look at it. But I think Ian pointed it out to
Yeah,
me. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I'd come about you through Gold Rush. His band Gold Rush,
yeah,
which
great.
which I really enjoyed. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so he was nice enough to do that. So you guys released a couple albums with the trio. Uh,
Yeah.
I want to move on to Bells of Lightning from
Ooh.
2021. There's
Yeah.
there's a couple of my favorites off of that.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
Yeah.
you feel like home. Yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
you like that?
Yeah, I do.
That's good. That's interesting. It's a funny old song, that, isn't it?
yeah.
Because I mean, sometimes I'm a little embarrassed sometimes when I sing the words,
If I was a dog.
if I was a dog, you'd be my favorite bone. And chew you inside out and not
Yeah.
lead you. I mean, it's gotta say the first verse is about sex, but it's a progressive love song. You know, you go through the song and you finally get to the end and you realize, you know, I really do love this person. It's not just about
Right, right.
the physical side of
Well,
it, you
even
know.
more so,
Yeah,
to
Yeah,
be a place that you feel like home is almost like the
yeah,
best human ambition, isn't it?
yeah,
Really,
yeah,
right,
you know?
right, right.
So yeah, no,
Very,
it's
yeah, well said. I like that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well,
I
and
like
then
that song. I do like. I'm very fond of that song. Yeah.
you are okay. And then the girl in a Gene Clark song.
uh,
Yes.
well, I don't know how that. I mean, Gene Clark, you know, is just a god to me, really, in a way. And it occurred to me that he was always talking about these mysterious women, you know, and sometimes it was Michelle Phillips, I think. One time it was various ones. I think I was always thinking of Michelle Phillips in there. So I thought, oh well, there's a girl there's also the one that's in She Don't Care About Time, you know, she lives out on the end of
Yes.
time. It was that kind of thing.
Mm.
So I just thought, oh well, I'll just have a song about the girl who's in a Gene Clark song, you know, and I made it sound very much like the Birds, you know,
Right.
doing, unfortunately for Gene, a B-side, you know, which is he usually ended up with the B-sides, which is
Yes, he
tragic.
did. Yes, he
Mm.
Yeah,
did.
and
Yeah,
I did, yeah, it's kind
yeah.
of made it sound like it's quite a tricky song to play, you know. I think we've
Mm.
played it a few times live,
Mm.
but yeah, the main point was it's a Girl in a Gene Clark song, but it should sound like it came off Turn, 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 the album or something, you know,
Mm.
really.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
the nicest bit of that, you know, that is that at the end she steps out of a dream. You know, you if you recognize her for who she is, it's not this idealized woman. It's actually a real person that you feel like home with, I guess, you
There
know.
you go. Yeah,
Mm.
there you
I'm
go.
fine here now. This is great.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But by the way, I enjoy Gene Clark's solo material after
Oh,
the
Yeah.
Birds. Yeah.
oh,
I've got a couple of his No Other and Echoes. I've
Yeah.
got those.
yeah,
If
absolutely.
you're
No
familiar.
others.
No other.
It
Yeah. Right.
is.
It's
I like just about every song on there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's astonishing. Only 8 songs, which breaks my rule of having you've got to have at least 10 songs on an album. But they're so epic, those, you know.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, it's just mind blowing. And then such a contrast, obviously, because they blew the budget, didn't they? David Geffen wasn't very happy about that.
Oh,
Only 8, you know. But then White Light, you know, and even is it just called Gene Clark? I don't know. Is the one it's just called
I
Gene
think
Clark?
there was
Yeah.
just a self-titled. I think they're. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 But his songs, you
Uh,
know, yeah, I think you probably could quote better than me, but I think even Bob Dylan said he writes songs that even Bob Dylan sort of thinks are from another place, you
yeah.
know.
Mm.
Right.
Um,
Right.
we
Yeah.
actually we actually did a demo of a song called Echoes, which was on it was his first album, you know, which they
Yeah.
came out. I remember hearing that and buying that record in Singapore, actually,
Oh,
bizarrely.
okay.
And at the same time, it was was it Fifth Dimension or Younger Than Yesterday? I can't. It was Younger Than Yesterday, I think.
Mm.
But and then I learned every song immediately. You know,
Yeah.
it's such a
This
great
the
song.
This Mortal Coil did a great cover of Strength of Strings.
Yes, yeah, they were great as well. You
Yeah.
know, this Mortal
Uh,
Coil are
Mm.
amazing. So
and
you've got a very eclectic, you know, knowledge of all this stuff, haven't
Mm.
you,
yeah,
really?
yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And,
great. And is that sort of pre-internet or post-internet? You know, in terms of
pre and post, it's a little bit of both. Yeah. So
did,
I like to dig a little deeper, you know.
you sound well, you must have
Mm.
had to, certainly pre-internet, you had to. Did you
Mm.
ever did you read of a magazine called Zigzag? Did you ever
Oh
hear?
yes, oh yes, and that reminded me of Leo Sayer. Leo Sayer. Um, there's a compilation I got Zigzag, and one of his songs was on there, and
Oh, right.
it was singer songwriters is what it was from that
Oh, I
period,
see. Oh,
from
wow.
the early
Oh,
'70s. But several good songs. Leslie Duncan was on the had a song
yes.
on
Yeah,
there.
she's
Yeah.
great.
Love
Yeah,
songs.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, she was brilliant. It's
yeah,
very underrated, really, and
Very,
under successful as well,
very,
in a
very
way.
much, very
Yeah.
We
much.
did a cover of that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We did a cover of Love Song, and also I knew that song first because Elton John did a version
Yeah,
of
he
it.
did.
You know,
That's right. That's the
I
connection.
think it's the only song that he's ever recorded, or at that point, it was the only song he's ever recorded that he didn't write.
is that right?
I think so.
Oh wow, yeah,
I
that's
think, I
fantastic.
think I think you're right. Yeah, but it had
Yeah.
some fine artists on there. I was trying to think who else was on there. I can't think right now. Yeah.
So I mean, Zigzag for us in England was sort of the internet of the day because you'd read about bands that you'd never heard of, especially
Right.
you know American bands. I
Right.
think I
Right.
probably found out about Clear Light from them, and then
Mm.
I've managed to get and even Love maybe. I mean, when the first Love record came out, it was like wow, it
Mm.
was just
Mm.
amazing, really.
And one more track I forgot to mention from that album, Dream Yard Angels. I like.
Yeah,
Thank you. Wow,
Yeah.
that's kind of it. Well,
that's the story of the American
that's
tour, isn't it?
that's kind of a little travelogue of our American tour, actually. Because it starts off where, well, I think we start off because we played a college in Oswego or something, and I remember, and it was when we first discovered that our tour, which was going to be this epic thing, had dissolved down to a few. So there's a feeling of disappointment.
Mm.
And then it sort of just travelogues it, but because it's a travelogue, I kind of wanted to make it move through sections. There's a whole middle section. I remember playing it to Bill Aitken, who was the engineer on our second album, or I gave him a copy, and he phoned me up. He said he burst out laughing because the middle section is basically 8 miles high. It just goes through loads of ragas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it was weird. I strangely enough, I started writing the first verse in the States in 1975. And then when it came to doing the album, I sat down with the notebook I had left, and I tried to remember some of the other bits I'd got, but I actually forced myself to tell the story, in a way, really.
Mm.
There's one bit where I say, we're at the bottom line with Flo and Eddie. I even mention Joel Scott Hill and Gib Gilbo, I think. But I also say we're on stage with the August Kids, and that was Ian and Michael Wackford. So it's
Yes,
fun. It was
August.
fun to do. I must say I've always enjoyed. Sometimes it's work, but you have to sort of sit down to do it. Is just the writing of lyrics, and he's very special like that as well. He can
Yeah.
he can change like and to it or
But
so, but yeah or something. Yeah,
and but there's a whole world of difference between those two, to be perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, no, but Tony's brilliant at storytelling. Really, really is.
Well, but I'm really pleased you like that song, and I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
a
it's great.
couple of people have said they like it as well, and it was so nice that album was so sort of well received. I mean, obviously the story of it being like 40 years longer
Yeah,
than David Crosby's interlude between albums,
Right. Right.
without drugs involved
Yeah.
or jail.
or or jail. Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least that's my story.
And you're sticking to it, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
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 Yeah.
Right.
No, it was great. It was great. And we had loads of people rediscovered, the thing, and it's
yeah.
still we still do it. And we're doing a gig next Sunday actually with a drummer and a guitarist that we've played with before, and we still do songs from that, and Ian's record and mine. So
Okay.
hopefully later this year we're actually going to do a proper tour supporting this new album we're working on. So.
Mm.
All right. Well, briefly, I want to hear about the more current. First of all, the 2021 Starry Eyed and Laughing album, Love Song,
Yeah,
cover songs
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
on
right.
that.
Yeah.
Which ones did you enjoy covering the most?
Oh, well, all of them actually. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
the title was a sort of dual meaning. It's like love song because I put a line between,
Yeah.
and then we covered love song on it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, pretty much. Well, I think I did a couple on my own because Ian lives 200 miles away or something. But my thought was. Again, a lot of people said it wasn't necessary, but I thought if we did a pre-order for Bells of Lightning, we could give a bonus album, to do.
Mm.
And the thing about Bells of Lightning is we projected it and started it in 2013, a month before I got something called polymyalgia. And that's a serious kind of, I couldn't move for about 6 months at
Mm,
all. Um, and so and I think I was on, medication for like 3 or 4 years really. And so it took
mm,
that long. But then I did the stuff with Danny and Robin with Bennett Wilson Poole, so it was a long time later,
mm,
so I wasn't sure, but we'd sort of done bits and pieces in that in a decade almost, wasn't it?
mm,
8 years,
mm.
something. And so it took a long time. But with the love song thing, um,
Quick.
I gave it, when we thought we'd do it, we
Mm,
had 2 weeks to record it
mm,
all. So, so we just did it a lot of the time, when we covered American Dreamer, which is the Gene Clark song, which
Yeah,
is on a movie.
yeah,
But that was very fast because it was just like, okay, let's pretend it's feel a whole lot better,
yeah,
And
yeah.
so it was easy to just do it fast like that, really. And
mm.
I can't think of what else was there.
One of my favorites is the Justin Timberlake track.
Oh yeah, that was
Oh,
so
okay,
unusual.
What
okay,
goes
right,
around comes around because
right,
it's so
right.
off the wall for us,
Right, right. See, I didn't listen to it, but when I read, the credit Timberlake, I thought, is that Justin or another Timberlake? I was like,
Well,
really?
the interesting thing is the one of the cut because with these pop stars, there's usually at least a dozen writers. It's kind of the
Yeah.
way it goes. But one of the writers' surnames on that song is Mosley.
Uh-huh.
So it was like,
Oh,
it
okay.
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
Bob, but
Yeah.
it was.
Right.
No, but
Right.
I just love the song because it's about something very sad. It's about, you know, the breakup of a relationship, but and yet it has this real vibrant quality to it. It's a
Yeah.
great song.
Some
I
people,
really love
some
it.
I've had some comments where people prefer it to the original,
To the
So,
original.
well,
Yeah.
it's because we made it a bit more rock, I
Yeah,
suppose,
yeah, yeah.
As I don't think it's possible that we could do a disco record.
No.
No, I don't think
I've
so.
always wanted to, though. No, I haven't really. No, not at all.
No, not at this stage, right?
Yeah, no.
Right,
So
right.
it was, and choosing the songs was just like songs we liked. Really, I can't
Mhm.
remember. There's one Michael Chapman song on there,
Oh, here's another one I
which I
like.
learned from Bridget St. John, who I've done quite a lot of work with. Again, a folk connection, I guess. And she's brilliant. She's absolutely. She's in
Yes.
her 80s now, but still, she's
I don't
coming
know.
back in August.
I reached out to her. I think her website or Facebook. Never heard back, but that would be
I'll
something.
see. I'll have a word with her and see. I'll say it's
Oh,
worth it.
if you
Yeah,
if you if you if you yeah talk to her, that would be
Yeah, she lives in New York now, actually, so it would be
yeah.
easier for her. But I know she's quite active, and I don't know how I mean, connected over the internet is really if she'd have Zoom on a computer or stuff like that. But I could certainly mention, it would be lovely to
Mm.
talk to you,
Yeah,
really. And I think
and
I'll see it. She's
yeah,
coming over in August
and
as well.
and Jackie as well, Jackie McShee. I
Well,
reached out.
I haven't seen or spoken to Jackie since that record actually.
Okay.
So I don't know. Sometimes you think maybe I was just another workman for them, those guys.
Right.
I mean, for somebody like Maddie Pryor,
Yeah.
who's she's hugely talented, but she's got a certain. I remember once I was doing a record with her and her daughter Rose,
Uh,
and we got to the end of the recording bit, and Rose was sort of saying, shouldn't we stick around, for the rest of it? And Maddie was out the door heading to the pub saying, no, leave it to him, he'll do it. It's
oh,
like,
did she? Okay.
yeah,
Well,
no, so
well,
yeah.
Ian, talk a little bit about your latest, Among the Living. Yeah.
Oh, Among the Living. Well, gosh, that was something that I just really needed and wanted to get done because I had this bunch of songs that were all about um, the my family, my extended family. There is one song on it, Marigold, which is
About me.
which
No.
is loosely based on uh, an an event that happened to me with one of my old girlfriends who Tony knows very well as
Yeah.
well. And but most of it is about my family. So there's a song about my mother on it. There's a song dedicated to my dad. Do you know the record? Do you
Yeah.
know
Yes.
you
Yes.
do?
Yeah.
Okay, so Old Man at the
You
Grave.
get a large parcel of CDs in the post for
Yeah. So
yeah,
How large? Okay.
Old Man at the Grave of His Wife is basically for my dad. It's not really about my dad because he didn't have dementia. My mother had dementia.
Oh,
While You Sleep is about my mum. I've got three songs that are the heart of the album, which are one about each of my children.
mm.
And then I don't know. There's one song about a friend of mine who died.
Oh yes, that girl.
Um,
Yeah,
that's what is it? There Are No Words.
yeah.
Um, but really, it was just something I had to get off my chest, I think. And Tony very kindly helped me do it.
yeah.
Wow,
You
that
know,
was
um,
yeah.
and
My,
yeah, I I love it. It's yeah, I still
you're,
listen to it, and
you're,
I still love it.
you're
Yeah.
proud of that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
My parents were just the opposite. My dad got Alzheimer's.
Oh,
right,
sad.
My mom didn't. So
Wow.
she died 91. She lived to 91.
right.
Oh,
And
she
my
was
dad,
91 years old.
yeah.
Oh,
And then my
wow.
dad died early, 76,
Oh
Wow.
He,
wow.
Wow.
he had Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. He had both of those.
Oh, my mother had Parkinson's,
Yeah,
and it's a wicked thing, isn't it,
Yeah.
actually?
yeah.
And the
Oh,
medicine that they would give would help one but hurt the other. They never could get it regulated right.
Oh
exactly
right.
the
Yeah,
experience,
yeah,
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 because you
Yeah.
get either the shaking or the stiffness or whatever, so
yeah.
you've got that experience. Wow.
I have an interesting story because
Yeah.
on our new album,
Yeah.
Unlike all your other stories, of course.
yes, this one is interesting, honestly.
As
Um,
opposed to, yeah.
our new album, we're going to do. It's all right to tell, Greg, isn't it?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're going to. We think we're going to do a double album,
Okay. All right.
and
Goodness.
it's going to be one half which is going to be country
Oh,
influence,
okay.
and the other half is going to be more space rock, a la Notorious Bird Brothers.
Okay. Okay.
So like that. So I've got this song, which I wrote last year. It's called 1925. And last year my father would have been 100 had he lived. He actually, I think he died when he was 97. And
Wow.
the story is that he's been dead for, 3 years or so. And I'd always wanted to write a song about him, and I just pushed it to the back of my mind because I couldn't face it in a way. I couldn't go there.
Yeah.
And I went with my family around my birthday to see the Bruce Springsteen movie.
Oh, okay.
Have
Yeah.
you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it
You
yet.
haven't seen it. Okay. It's a very interesting film because it's not a normal biopic. It 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 showcases like 11 months in Bruce Springsteen's life where he's trying to do a new album, and he basically rents a house and he goes there and he records Nebraska on
Oh,
a four track or a two track,
Four-track
four
Porter
track,
studio, apparently.
four track Porter Studio.
Hmm.
And at the same time, he's very depressed and he's bringing up all these memories about his father, um, played by Stephen Graham, wonderful English actor.
yeah.
There's a great scene in it where Springsteen is looking for his dad. He's gone out on some sort of bender, ends up in a kind of a bar in Chinatown, and he meets his dad, and he's saying, "Shall we go?" And he said, "Oh, I need to pay the tab." And the guy behind the bar says to he says to Springsteen, he says, "Don't worry, you don't need to pay the tab. This is a good man," indicating his father. And his
Right.
father looks at him and says, "Am I?"
Wow.
And that it destroyed me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was a really profound moment for me because my relationship with my dad was very, very difficult. So anyway, I go home and 2 weeks later, I wake up with this almost fully formed part introduction to a song in my head. So I get up and I write it all down, and it becomes a song called 1925, which is kind of my dad's story.
Yeah.
100 years
and
this
it
year.
and a hundred, yeah, so
Mm,
it's 100 years since he died,
mm.
and it's going to be on the hopefully it's going to be on the new album.
Yeah, either
Yeah.
country or Moog synthesizery.
Yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
Well,
So yeah,
which would you lean towards? Moog synthesizer or more country of that?
I think the synthesizers
Well, when I say
it's
Moog, I don't mean literally. I mean,
Okay.
like,
atmospheric.
yeah,
Atmosphere.
the Notorious Bird Brothers sort of sound, really, I
Okay.
Yeah,
think,
Okay.
because it's a song which could work on a country record, but it would be more evocative, I think, if it
yeah,
had like sort of a different soundscape to it, really.
yeah,
Whereas, a song like there's some songs that are definitely country, we wouldn't benefit from that, I don't think,
mm,
really. And it was Ian's idea for this because apparently before Graham joined the Byrds, and you can see how influenced we are by those people, but Jim or Roger McGuinn's idea was that their next album, well, he wanted to do an album which was the history of music from the Middle Ages to space rock. I know,
Yeah.
which is quite
Wow.
ambitious,
Yes, that is.
yeah, but I think in the end it was going to be like half space rock and half country. But then Graham joined and kind of took over, didn't he, really? So it ended up with Sweetheart of the Rodeo. And so the other half was just out in the ether, really. Although I think, if you put Notorious Bird Brothers and Sweetheart of the Rodeo together, they're so different. But it would be his concept in a way, wouldn't it?
It would. Yes, it
Yeah.
would. Yes, it would.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it's Ian's idea, and of course it's a lot to do, but we've given ourselves a deadline now. It's like sometime next week, I believe.
Well,
oh,
it's
it's great. No,
fascinating.
we got more than 20 songs, so we've got
Right,
we've got enough,
right.
and we've got them into our two categories, I think. So
So if I don't get polymyalgia, I still have polymyalgia actually, but
yeah,
I'm not on steroids anymore, and I do. After I'd recovered, actually, I was on the road, as I say, with Danny and Robin in Bennett Wilson Poole for like 80 gigs in a year, and we went to Germany and Mallorca and all around the country, and it actually energized me, So it was
Hmm.
definitely a good, perhaps the best thing you can do, really, rather than sit into it in that way, really. But was your mum sort of fully compos mentis, up to
Uh,
her
Pretty
90?
much, pretty much up
How
until
lovely.
the last, yeah. I mean, she was all up there. She was. She played bridge most of her life, years.
Well,
Played
that's
the
good for
card
the
game.
brain, isn't it?
Yes, it does. It keeps it active, and
Yeah,
she worked
Yeah.
crossword puzzles. Both of those things.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've always thought those. I used to do lots of crossword puzzles, and I think it's just sort of exercises a part of brain you don't even
Right.
know
Right.
about.
I
I
still do
still,
them. I
I
did them
still do.
online.
I
Do
still
you?
do.
Oh,
I
I
still
still
do.
do them.
I still
that's
Yeah.
do.
fine.
I don't know if I could, if I got one right here. I get these through the mail. I like the Sunday, the big ones. Here it
Oh
is.
yes.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
well, Ian,
yeah.
bring your puzzle book out. Ian always turns up with
Well,
big puzzle
I've
books.
got I've
Yeah.
got this a big Sudoku book one of my sons bought
Oh,
me, which
yes,
is
yes.
like it's like killer Sudoku. It's so many different. It's like 13 different
Yeah.
interlocking
Right,
sections.
right.
It's
Really?
yeah, awful, but
Yeah.
it's good. It tests the brain. Yeah.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
It keeps those neurons firing, and now,
Mm.
like I
Well,
said,
a few years ago, I think maybe it was during lockdown, Ian got me going on a thing called Words with Friends, which was like a Scrabble
Scrabble.
thing.
Yeah.
oh,
And I got into it, but I realized it was stealing because I'm not really a kind of, I'm usually working all the time. So it was stealing so much time doing it. So I
yeah.
gave up. But at the time, he told me he was playing the same thing with 50 other people.
Yeah.
Oh, were you?
50 different games going at once. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, they have those. They have those going on. Well, I want to
Yeah.
hear
Do you mind?
briefly about faith in us.
Sure.
Your latest.
Absolutely.
Can
Yeah.
I go to the loo?
Ah, there we go. See? Yeah. Yes, you can.
Sorry.
We've been talking for quite a while. Yes.
We
It's
have.
an old man thing.
Don't hold it any longer.
This is my carpet.
Yes.
I won't
Yes.
be long.
Okay.
Oh well, that's kind of appropriate. No, thanks. Yeah, I'd like to tell you about that. I mean, you know, I've worked on so many records, and a lot of the time, it has just been me, even though like with the Bennett Wilson Poole ones, and I met records for a few other people where I played most of the instruments, but it's their songs and their name, So I know I've got a particular friend called Peter O'Brien who he had a magazine called Omaha Rainbow in the 80s, 70s and 80s. And he's always been on at me to make a solo record for years, really, And so I finally sort of got guilted into it, I guess, really. And it was
Yeah.
quite interesting because I've written so many songs over the years, but when you look at a song that you've written, um, you kind of see it with a audience eyes, and you realize it may have been clever, but it wasn't very effective or something. So most of the songs on this Faith in Us are actually quite new, but there's a few that have been pulled back, from times where I've kind of thought, oh, that one could be good, really. And I kind of wanted it to be. I don't know if if you haven't got a copy of that, you'll be getting one as well. But
Okay.
I
All
wanted
right.
it to be sort of a homage to the music of the 60s, not just the Byrds, but the Beatles, and Manfred Mann even, that kind of thing. And so the songs are set in those sort of soundscapes, I think. That's kind of I imagined it. And there's one, the last song on the record was one that it's sort of inspired by David Crosby's movie, song called Cowboy Movie. I don't know if you know.
Yeah,
It's on
yeah.
his that first solo record, and mine's called Film Noir, so you can see the connection. But I've mastered a couple of records for a guy called Glenn Phillips, who's a guitarist out of I think it's Aurora is the place he comes from. Wonderful, amazing guitarist. He was the Hampton Grease band. He played with Frank Zappa. You could look
Oh,
him up, Glenn Phillips, two
great.
ends, Glenn Phillips, and he he very kindly agreed to play some lead guitar. Obviously he sent the tracks to me remotely. Well, his guitar track, and it was just astonishing. It was just so
Mm.
perfect. It's like, oh wow, this guy's another level musician, really. So that was a real buzz.
Yeah.
Doing that.
To be able to do that, yes.
Yeah. And I think there are some songs on there. There's a couple of songs on there which were going to be on the second Bennett Wilson Poole album, but um, for a number of reasons, but mostly because there were too many songs around, they didn't appear. But so they come from that 2019-20 sort of period, And I think it's a sort of mixture of songs that you've got this kind of social comment, They used to call them protest songs, didn't they?
Mhm.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and then some songs from personal experience, really, which I've never really kind of engaged with that actually, in any of my songs, I don't think. So there are a few kind of lo love songs on there as well.
Mm.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
wanted to mention that speaking of Dream Yard Angels, I like the video on YouTube of you guys uh, playing that at the Betsy Trotwood.
Oh, really? Is there a
Yeah.
video?
Yeah, that's
Wow,
from
I haven't even seen that.
four,
Is that?
four, 4 years ago now. Look,
Oh, I must check
2020.
that out. I think it must
No,
be
no,
a
no.
guy.
No, it was 2 years ago. I'm sorry, 2 years ago.
Yes, well, we've played there a few
Is that
times.
BWP or me and
No,
you?
it's me and you because
Oh, right.
we did
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, I remember the gig. I
Yeah,
remember the gig
Yeah.
memorably because I introduced one of the other songs from that record with the story of Dream Ride Angels, and he said to me,
yeah.
"That's a different
That's the
song."
different song. What are you talking about?
So we're
Yeah.
thinking of starting a stand-up routine. Actually, that would
Yeah.
be quite
Oh, there you go. There you go. That could
No, I
work.
must. I believe I know who it might be because we've got a lovely guy called Clive Jones, and I think it might be
That's
his
who it is.
channel.
It's his
Thanks for
channel.
pointing that out. I should
Yeah,
check that out.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Oh,
his
wow. I
channel.
know
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. Right.
Wow. I do. The only thing I remember about that is that after the instrumental section, my brain, because I've never been a guy that uses lyrics, and he does, but I think most of the
Yeah.
time it's just for reassurance, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I've never done it. I just know a song and it just comes. But I got to the instrumental section and my mind had gone blank because it's a lot of words in that song. And I think I just stopped and there was just silence in the room for this kind
Uh-huh.
of
Yeah, yeah.
5 seconds. Do you remember that? Yes. So then you have to go, well, I am at least 73 years old or something like
It's all part of the act.
That's right.
Yeah,
Well, see, that's where
yeah,
the comedy comes in. There you go.
Yeah.
yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly.
Right, right.
And
Yeah,
I think even with Bennett Wilson Poole, we developed a good bit of stage patter, and I think especially in this to this age group and everything, it's not just about the music. When people have paid money to come out, they kind of expect to be entertained in some way, and I remember, I mean, I've seen Bruce Springsteen a couple of times, once from like the third row in London, and I've never seen such an astonishing,
right.
power from the stage, really. And but
To
that
me,
came,
yeah,
yeah, it came,
for Bruce is, I used to think that it would be hard for him to reach across the ocean. I could see
oh,
influence here in the States,
yeah,
definitely, but then I thought, well, would that translate to the UK and other countries? But he's got that kind of everyman thing,
yes,
Right,
yeah.
right.
That's what you've got it
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what does it.
So,
Yeah. No, I mean the second time I saw him was at Wembley Stadium, so it was like
yeah,
he was just a dot in the distance,
yeah.
So, but it was full as well, And I guess, and he's still out there doing it, isn't he?
Oh, yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Well, I hope we haven't taken too much of your time, Greg, because it's been an
No.
absolute gas.
Oh, it has been for me too. I've thoroughly
Yeah,
enjoyed talking with you guys, visiting with
great.
you guys. Yeah.
Likewise.
So I knew it'd be longer because there's two of you. So that's
Yes.
just gonna that's gonna
Yeah,
go
and
with the
actually it worked out
territory.
really well because
Yeah.
I had previous experiences where with Danny and Robin, I think, where we were all in separate houses doing an interview with somebody,
Mm.
and sometimes there'd be a silence or the people would talk over each
Mm.
other. At
Right.
least here now he can kick me in the ribs, or something.
No, I just sit here listening to you talk, mate. That's all.
It's like what? Why am I here? Why?
I thought that
No,
was me while you were telling
no,
your very
Yeah,
interesting
no,
no,
no.
I know.
stories.
That's what. That's
It's
why.
all right. It's
That's why when
equal.
I did the questions, I tried to kind of split them in half.
Yeah,
Give
sure. Yeah.
each one of you.
No, it's been
No, it's
fascinating.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because not actually normally when you're doing an interview, not that we do that many, it's all about the latest record or something,
Yeah.
So,
right.
but
Yeah.
this has been amazing, really. You've dragged up some memories for me, and which I didn't even know, which were
Yeah.
just great,
Yeah.
really.
I want to thank you guys again. Very enjoyable, and
Thank
Yeah.
you. Likewise.
it'll be on the channel, and you'll
Yeah.
have copies. I'll also send you guys your own copy, so
Oh,
then you can post it wherever you like to your channel and Facebook, whatever, and then it'll also be on my channel. So
right. Yeah. Well,
Fantastic.
I'll definitely, social media is the way these days. Only Facebook for me, actually.
Mm.
But
Mm.
yeah,
yeah.
we'll definitely be spreading the word, for your channel
Oh,
because
okay.
I think I'll just say what I said to you. This is document. It's a
Yeah.
document for
Yeah.
for those people that had the same intentions as the ones that became famous, but
Yeah. Yeah.
would tell you what the story is really.
Right.
Mm.
Right. There you go.
That
Exactly.
it really was like you bumped into stuff in zero gravity. You didn't do ballet.
Yeah.
Right. Posterity. That's the word I was looking for.
Posterity,
Posterity.
For
exactly. Yeah,
posterity. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Brilliant.
All
Well,
right, then.
good.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to say all the best to you guys.
Yeah, I was going to say take care of yourself, and all
Okay.
the best to you,
Same to you. Yeah.
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 And say a few prayers for us. And yeah.
Certainly, certainly.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
All
Will
All
right.
do.
right. All right. Bye
Okay.
bye. Bye bye for now, guys.
Ciao.
See you,
Cheers.
Greg. Thank
All
you.
Yes.
right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.